least on the. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the Board of Trustees regular meeting. It's September 12th, 2017. The time is 7:34 p.m. This is meeting number 2017-15. And I just want to make a statement real quick. We currently have no microphones and no camera. We do have an audio recording which will be available online. If we get our IT guy to get the system up, anyone who wants to make public comments, we can certainly, at the end of the meeting, record those comments. And I apologize about the glitch. But if you feel the camera is important and the microphone, I apologize we don't have it. So I'm going to ask every trustee and every individual to please speak loudly, almost so everyone can hear, okay? Jane, can you please take the roll?
Sure. President Barry?
Here.
Trustee Stalker?
Yeah.
Trustee Olenichuk will be here in a few minutes. Trustee Desmond?
Yeah.
Trustee Phelan?
Here.
Trustee Vorder?
Here.
Trustee Strike? We have a quorum.
Would everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we want to do the public comments now, board, or try to wait and see if we get the camera and microphones going?
Let's let the people speak.
Okay, if anyone wants to hang around and we get the camera going, we'll be happy to record that. I apologize. Our first speaker is Shannon Kazmierczak, and she is an Oak Lawn resident, and she's going to speak on the agenda items, item 17, 18, 19, and 20. And we ask Shannon if you could come to the podium, state your name, and for the record, and you have 3 minutes. And again, I apologize about the technical glitch.
No worries.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shannon Kazmierczak. I live at 9519 South 50th Court in Oak Lawn. I live in the house just south of the parking lot behind the property on 95th Street, containing a dentist and several other businesses that run during normal banker's hours, as you would say. My greatest concern right now that I'd like to bring to attention is when the proposed new buildings go up and they use the parking lot next to my bedroom windows as overflow parking, that we will see a decrease in property value and safety for myself and my children and my husband. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Eileen O'Sullivan. And Eileen, you're doing the proclamation that's on the agenda later. Should we just do it then? Or okay, thank you. Our next speaker is also Lizette, and you're also with the college, so we're going to keep moving. Lisa Smith, you're here for an agenda item also. Do you want to speak during public comments or during the agenda item?
During the agenda.
Thank you. Okay. We have Amanda Alt-Henning, again speaking about agenda item 17 to 20. Amanda, please come to the podium. Thank you. And if you could state your name, and you've already indicated that you're an Oak Lawn resident. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Alt-Henning. I live at 9543 South 50th Court. And as Mayor Burry indicated, I am going to address the Board of Trustees on an issue that is coming to vote tonight and in the future. I'm a resident of the 95th and 50th Court block, and as a resident, I strongly oppose this proposed development that would go atop the Dunkin' Donuts building that is going to be built at the Karis property site. And trustees, I'm strongly urging you to please vote no on agenda item number 17 and number 18 tonight. And please remand these items down to the Planning and Development Commission for further review of the project as a whole in its entirety, not just commercial on one side and residential on the other. Please remand it so that it can be considered totally. furthermore, going forward, I would urge you to reject any plans that include a residential component on top of this commercial site. As I outlined in my letter to the trustees and the village officials, there are many reasons to reject the residential component to this development plan. And I'll just briefly recap the 5 reasons that I stated. Number 1, this will change the look and character of the neighborhood with a structure that is ill-suited for the site. Number 2, the lack of parking will cause additional congestion and create neighborhood nuisance. Parking is a huge problem already. We have a lot of things going on downtown that are great, and a lot of people want to be there. But unfortunately, cramming too many people into too small of an area is a great concern for safety. Not only the safety of people who are visiting, but also the safety of the residents. Number 3, a residential aspect of the development is detrimental to safety and privacy of the neighbors. As you just heard my neighbor Shannon state, she and her family are very worried about the potential for what could happen to their property, to their family. And the rest of us are very concerned too. We really don't want strangers to have a front row seat to our family's most private moments. Number 4, a transit-oriented development isn't realistic for the site, as there aren't 24/7 transit options. And number 5, the luxury aspect of this proposal is troubling, both experientially and from a sales perspective. Now, I know this administration wants to be fiscally responsible, and this development is being touted as a way to prevent a tax hike. But taxes will still need to be raised. And it's an inevitability of living in a suburban area that doesn't receive any type of citizens' dividends, such as those received from areas that have oil or casinos. We don't have that. So in addition, there aren't village amenities, appropriate development, and a cohesive aesthetic that give people the feeling that they're at home. And potential buyers and businesses won't want to put down roots in Oak Lawn. And so our taxes will increase anyway. So I feel that I'm out of time
Yes.
at the moment, but I would urge you to remember that people are more important than property. And mindful suburban planning is always more prudent than a quick buck. So please vote no and remand these 2 items down. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amanda. We have one more public commenter, Kevin Farrell, also talking about the same agenda items. And Kevin, you've also indicated you live in Oak Lawn. If you could come state your name, please, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi, I'm Kevin Farrell. I live right directly south of the vacant property on 50th Court. Directly affected would be, talk about a front row view from the condos, that would be my backyard with 2 teenage daughters. I'm very concerned. We had meetings with the village, with Mr. Deashen and Mayor Berry, and discussed some of the issues that had come to mind, some being the sound quality, noise reduction for our house and our neighbors. At no time was a condo discussed. At no time was it brought up that there was gonna be residents above our property looking into my backyard. We are not opposed to development. We are not opposed to progress. We had that discussion. We were trying to be as cooperative as we can, but we feel like this was snuck in at the last minute and we didn't appreciate it. I don't know what the background is and where it came from because we found out less than a month ago. So we're very against the condo. We're not against progress, we're just against squeezing more residents into an area that's already chock full. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have conflict of interest disclosure, item 4. Does anyone up here have a conflict to disclose with any item on tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to our proclamations. In the interest of time, we've got a very, very full board meeting. We have 2 proclamations where the individuals are here, and we have 2 that they're not here. I'm going to summarize the ones who are not here and read fully the ones who are here. And that might shave a couple minutes off this very long meeting. I have a proclamation for National Medicare Education Week, September 18th through the 25th. We ask all residents, the 65 million of you who are Medicare recipients, to be sure to take the time, know your options, and I am going to sign this proclamation indicating National Medicare Education Week in the Village of Oak Lawn for September 18th through the 25th, 2017. Thank you. And we have a diaper bank in the southwest suburban area. It's called Swaddle, Southwest Area Diaper Depository for Little Ends. And the week of September 25th through the October 1st is Diaper Need Awareness Week. There's a huge need for disposable diapers in underserved populations. And now we're seeing with the disasters an even greater need for these diaper banks, and people don't even know they exist. So please check out swaddle.org. But I'm going to sign this proclamation for Diaper Need Awareness Week, September 25th, 2017 through October 1st, 2017. Okay, now I'm going to call up Lisa Smith with the Daughters of the American Revolution to the podium. And I'm just going to read this here, but I'll invite you to just say hello and tell us anything you'd care to. Is that okay? Okay, Lisa, thank you for being here. Those of you who know Lynn Gray, she was trying to be here for this today, but she was unable to make it. And so I thank you very much for stepping in her place. This is a Village of Oak Lawn proclamation for the Daughters of the American Revolution, Swallow Cliff chapter. Whereas it is the privilege and duty of the American people to commemorate September 17th, 2017 as the 230th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America with appropriate ceremonies and activities, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th, 2017 through September 23rd, 2017 as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Sandra Berry, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the Village of Oak Lawn, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th, 2017 through September 23rd, 2017 as Constitution Week. We urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American citizen with the rights, responsibilities which that privilege involves. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand, caused the seal of the village to be affixed this 12th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2017. Thank you. Do you want to say a word or two about your organization?
My name is Lisa Smith. I'm a resident of Oak Lawn, living 9029 Mead Avenue, and I am a member of the National Society of the Daughters of the Revolution, and we commemorate the signing of the Constitution on the 17th nationally by the ringing of a bell at 3 p.m. So join with us in this commemoration, and I want to thank you, the village, for this proclamation.
Thank you very much, and give Lynn Gray our warm regards. Thank you. I have one more proclamation. This is the last one of the evening. Village of Oak Lawn proclamation for Moraine Valley Community College's 50th anniversary. Whereas founded by a voters' referendum in 1967, Moraine Valley Community College District 524 is one of the largest public community college districts in Illinois, covering 139 square miles and annually serving more than 34,000 credit and non-credit students hailing from 26 demographically diverse communities in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. And whereas Moraine Valley Community College is one of the more than 48 community colleges in the state of Illinois operating under the direction of the Illinois Community College Board with accreditation from the Higher Learning Commission. And whereas over the last 5 decades, Moraine Valley Community College has been committed to student success by educating the whole person in a learning-centered environment, recognizing our responsibilities to one another, to our community, and to the world we share. And whereas the college is committed to continuous improvement while providing accessible, affordable, and diverse learning opportunities and environments. And whereas Moraine Valley has conferred more than 63,000 degrees and certificates since its opening and serves 1 in every 37 residents of its district. including nearly 18% of the adult population from Oak Lawn over the past 5 years. And whereas 2017 marks the 50th anniversary of this important academic institution, and with it, events and celebrations throughout 2017, as detailed at their website, www.morainevalley.edu/rocksolid. And now therefore be it proclaimed by the village president, Sandra Berry, and the village board of trustees of Oak Lawn, county of Cook, state of Illinois, for and on behalf of its citizens, that we all congratulate Moraine Valley Community College upon its 50th anniversary and encourage all members of the public to join the college at its scheduled celebratory events. We would like to congratulate you, and do you want to come up and say a few words? Who here has been to Moraine Valley as a student? Quite a few. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the college, we would like to thank you for adopting this resolution commemorating the 5 decades and for our serving the 26 community districts. We are grateful to Oak Lawn Rotary's insight into the need for a community college in the southwest area. We would also like to remind you and invite you for our community celebration this Saturday, September 16th from 1 to 5 at our campus, where we will have food, fun, and activities for families. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations. That campus has sure come a long way from those little Quonset huts.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Berry, can I just say?
Sure, come on up. This is Eileen O'Sullivan.
I'm a trustee at Moraine Valley, and I just want to say the board and as well as the taxpayers of Oak Lawn for your continued commitment and support to Moraine Valley. It is a jewel right here in our suburb, and I encourage everyone to come and take a look at it. If you have some high school students looking, even summer classes are a great thing. My boys both took summer classes there, nieces and nephews, and it helped them get through their 4-year a lot less expensively. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to move on to item 9, approval of meeting minutes for the closed meeting minutes 2017-08, dated June 13th, 2017. May I have a motion, please, on this item? Thank you. Trustee Stalker made the motion. Seconded. I'm going to give it to Trustee Vorderer. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 10, approval of the meeting minutes for the regular meeting minutes 2017-14, dated August 8th, 2017. May I have a motion, please, on item 10?
So move.
Thank you. And that was Trustee Phelan.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion here? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit? Motion passes.
Thank you. 11 is new business by village trustees, District 1. Tim, how's everything in District 1?
Everything is good. Just a couple of items, and it pertains more to speeding. But probably the most consistent thing I hear about is speeding mainly on 91st Street from, cars. 91st Street goes all the way from Cicero to Harlem, and cars are consistently trying to avoid traffic on 95th Street by going up and down 91st Street, and some trucks. Also, trucks are cutting in off 95th Street towards to the back of the mall by heading down Natoma and other of those streets. So I would ask our staff to please address that. We need to get some more weight limit signs on those streets. 88th Street is another problem with traffic cutting in off 87th Street. We have been told repeatedly that stop signs don't work. We have been told that there is no more speed ramps. I did some research, and one item that may work would be traffic circles as opposed to traffic roundabouts. So I had some Tom, that Tom, it's not working, right? Oh, it is? So just, I know we got a full meeting, just briefly. And again, I would ask staff to look into the feasibility of traffic circles. There would be a small landscaped, they would look nice, and they would hopefully prevent speeders. So, I mean, they are low to the ground. They should not be a danger to anyone plowing through them. And I think there's 3 of them just. So maybe we could look into the cost, liability, and then just moving on real quickly, Fall in the Green this year was a huge success. I think it brought in the most revenue of any Fall in the Green. So a huge thank you to all the staff. Just real briefly, there was, before we go into raffle tickets or anything like that, there was a $105,245 worth of beer drank. So, so that's all I have.
Wow. I'm speechless. District 2.
Yes, I just have a couple of things. Piggybacking on what Trustee Desmond has said, traffic and the flow of traffic throughout the village of Oak Lawn is the number one complaint that I, as a trustee, have received, and I'm sure many trustees have received. And I know that residents are looking for us with the solutions on being able to control traffic through side streets, residential areas. One of the things that, talking to staff, that they have mentioned is individual driving behaviors and habits. It starts with you, and you need to make sure that you're following your speed limits and you're following how you're driving through not just your neighborhood and other neighborhoods. But I talked to our previous chief, and I've got an appointment to talk to our new chief about looking to put, especially in school zones like they have in the city of Chicago, speed cameras, because I will tell you that those do work. And the biggest issue that you have is we could put police officers out there, and for the time that the police officers are out there, you'll have a reduction in the amount of speeding. When the police officer leaves, then you'll see it slowly go back to what people have been doing with bad driving habits. I can tell you that in the city of Chicago, where you drive past parks and when you drive past school zones, they have zero tolerance, and there's no disputing it. You're either going over the speed limit or you're not. And I know that the residents look for us for all the miracle solutions on how to control the traffic, and we do everything that we can. I know I've had residents that have requested speed bumps between 91st and 93rd on Menard, and when they got their street redone, to the person, they signed a petition to have the speed runs removed because it didn't solve people speeding through their neighborhood. So I know that we've got a good staff. I know that we've just gotten hit with some concerns, and they're legitimate concerns about safety and control in our neighborhood. So I'd ask the residents of the village of Oak Lawn to be mindful of the speed limits on the side streets. And I would ask staff to see if there's anything out there that's up and coming. Tim, that the turnabouts are a very good method for us to be able to look at, but there's got to be a master traffic control plan, which I've talked to the village manager about many times, that what we find is when you make one street a residential only or one way or a dead end, it directly affects the other streets. And the biggest streets that, at least in Second District, that we have the amount of speeding on are the streets that directly border Cicero Avenue and 95th Street. I live at 93rd and Parkside, and when 95th Street backs up, people are popping down Parkside to get to Southwest Highway, and vice versa, Southwest Highway going down. And I know that it happens on Parkside, it happens on all the major northwest streets going from 87th Street to 95th Street, Southwest Highway to 95th Street, or anything going east-west on 91st Street that has a direct traffic pattern through. So if we could look to move forward on that, that would be a huge, huge opportunity for us in the village of Oak Lawn to make ourselves stand out as being better and different in the community. And then finally, I know that we're enjoying some nice weather here in September, but eventually snow is going to come. We are going to be running a senior snow shoveling program. For the October meeting, we'll have the full blown out program of how that's going to work and how both volunteers and residents can sign up, residents that are in need for our senior snow shoveling program. And thanks to all the staff for Fall in the Green. You really don't understand how much work the staff goes through making Fall in the Green a very, very safe and fun time. And I know that the residents around the Green deal with a lot of traffic, so thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. District 3, Trustee Straight.
New this
Thank you.
evening, Mayor.
District 4, Trustee
Yes,
Vorder.
Mayor, just a couple things. I would be negligent not to compliment the staff, the administration, Trustee Desmond for Fall on the Green. I think, and I've been going to them for 25 years, this might just have been the best. We were blessed with good weather, and I have to admit, I probably had one or two of those beers that added up to the 200 grand. The other day, I was driving down 95th Street, and come to my attention, temporary signs all along 95th Street. These are signs which advertise painting. They stick them in the parkway, or they tie them to our light poles, advertising real estate, buying houses, etc. In fact, from 95th Street in my district, from Cicero to Pulaski, I counted 13 of them. And when I was a policeman, we would encourage our CSOs or the street department, when they see these, pull them up. It cheapens the village, it cheapens the aesthetics. I don't want to impede people's business opportunities, but we do have ordinances that restrict those temporary signs. I would ask, Chief, if you, maybe the street department, when you see these, encourage your CSO officers to take them down. And thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. District 5.
I just want to thank Tim and the Special Events Commission again for Fall in the Green. I think it was a great event. You keep on getting better every year, and I really appreciate it. I hope the village people who attended appreciate it as well. This coming Saturday is St. Linus's 7th Annual Oktoberfest. This is really going to be a great event. The first entertainment from 4 to 6 is Elise Harrigan. Elise lives in District 5, Oak Lawn. She's a graduate of Mother McCauley High School, and she was the winner of America's Got Talent at Bourbon Street last year, and she's really got a great voice. So if you have the opportunity to come out, please do. 6 to 8 is Peter Aprisco, and 8 to 11 is the Audiomatics. It's really a great event. They'll have food and beverage. The fee to get in is $10 in advance and $15 if you pay at the door, and it's really worthwhile. They'll have kids' entertainment for the earlier hours, so please bring them with, and hopefully you'll come out and enjoy it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. District 6, Trustee Phelan.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move on then to our village manager's report, item 12. Item 12A is a motion to direct the village manager to authorize village council to prepare an agreement between Mancari Dodge Chrysler Jeep of Oak Lawn and the village of Oak Lawn for a 3-year lease on village-owned property at 4440 Southwest Highway. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Olenichek made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that to Trustee Phelan. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Olenichek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 12B is a motion to direct the village manager to authorize village council to prepare an agreement for sale of said property as is to Auto World Exchange Incorporated for $600,000. I'm going to read these addresses. However, they are all on 87th Street. One is recorded in the county incorrectly, so please pay attention to the PIN numbers, which are contiguous. The first address is 7800 West 95th. PIN number 2405 202 003 0000. And next 5741 West 87th Street, 2405 202 004 and 4 zeros. 5737 West 87th Street, PIN number 2405 202 05, followed by 4 zeros. 5739 West 87th Street, PIN 2405 202 011, 4 zeros. 5739 West 87th Street, PIN 2405 202 012 and 40s. 5717 West 87th Street, PIN number 2405 202 013 40s. 5717 West 87th Street, PIN 2405 202 014 and 40s. 5717 West 87th Street, PIN 2405 202 022 and 40s. Address 5704 West 87th Street, 2405 202 045 and 40s. May I have a motion, please, on 12B like boy?
Motion approved.
Thank you. Trustee Desmond made that
Second.
motion, seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion here? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
No.
Trustee Strite?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you. And item 12C, General Village Matters, Larry?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board, for your action on item A and B. Just two brief items, Mayor. I, too, would like to thank not only the staff, as the Board has regarding this year's 2017 Fall in the Green, but equally important as what Trustee Desmond indicated as far as sales of beverages that do provide a portion of the funding for Fall in the Green. Residents need to know that businesses, both local and regional, fund over $125,000 and counting to offset the cost of the project. So the goal is not only not to impact your general fund property tax, but also to provide entertainment to children in the youth areas there are no tickets, there are no charges for the rides. And furthermore, and I think it's the most important for members of the community to understand, as the board certainly knows it, that in order to be successful in a community, you have to establish a partnership with business. The business do pay taxes in this community as well, and they're an integral part of the success of Oak Lawn. Next item, social media and crime. After you have events that are attended by thousands of folks, certain communications appear in the social media. And I urge any individual that feels that a crime has been committed or that somebody has violated an ordinance or something more serious to report it. That's why you have an outstanding law enforcement department here, and I assure you they enforce the law. So talking about an issue or making allegations on social media is not going to get the bad guys arrested, is not going to get the individuals that need to be prosecuted in Oak Lawn and Cook County done. Work through your police department. Last item. When you see events that occur on the street, sending an email to the police chief or to the village manager at 9 a.m. in the morning when we're in meetings or handling multiple emails and other communications is not as effective. We appreciate the emails, we appreciate the communication, but you start with 911. If you see an event or an incident, our emergency communications is right in the room next to here, and they will dispatch the appropriate police and fire and rescue determined by the incident you reported, your answer to the questions, and we will be there sooner. Following up with an email, we're very appreciative of that, the chief and myself, but sometimes I'm going to see an email after I come out of 4 or 5 meetings, and it would be disrespectful of me to be responding to the email while I'm meeting with residents or talking to my board of trustees. So you can help us by calling 911 if you do believe it's an emergency situation. Thank you, Mayor and Board.
Thank you, Larry. That's excellent advice, and people message me very often through Facebook, and like you said, you're in meetings, you're running around, you're not on Facebook. So the most effective way to reach us is to contact us through the village itself, either our village phone number or our village email. Facebook, maybe it could be a couple days till I even see it. So Please, please, please. And if it's an emergency, call 911. If you want the police there, the best way to do that is to call 911. Thank you, Larry. So item 13, a request to approve the Planning and Development Commission referral for a variation to allow for the renovation of 4 garden apartments and a parking variation allowing for the restriping of 31 parking spaces at 10425 to 10433 South Longwood Lane. This was a 7-0 vote to approve petition number 2017-13. Charles Kipp is the petitioner in District 6. And then we have an ordinance granting that request in item 14. May I have a motion on 13 and 14, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Phelan made that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Vorder. Any discussion here? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. 15 is a request to approve the Planning and Development Commission referral for a 1.28 impervious surface variation at 10029 South Karlov Avenue. This was a 8-0 vote to approve petition number 2017-14. Francis Beltran is the petitioner in District 4, and item 16 is an ordinance granting that request. May I have a motion on 15 and 16, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Vorder. Made that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Stalker. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Streit?
Yes.
Motion passes.
17 tonight is a request to approve the Planning and Development Commission referral for a setback, landscaping, parking, and loading berth variation to allow for a new 3-story commercial building at 9500 South 50th Court. This was a 7-1 vote to approve in petition, in 7-1 vote to approve petition number 2017-15. Amin Panjwani is the petitioner in District 3. And then 18 is an ordinance granting that request. May I have a motion on 17 and 18, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Desmond made that motion,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion on this item, gentlemen?
Yes, Mayor.
Trustee Streit.
Thank you. The purpose of this request is to provide for a 3-story commercial building on the corner of 95th and 50th Court. We cannot consider this issue in a vacuum. There are many moving parts, and most of them are good. As part of this development, we are going to be fixing a long-standing problem of ingress and egress into the parking garage. It sounds like we're going to get an upscale Mexican restaurant on the site as well. I have been supportive of all of the components of this project thus far. But recently, like many of you, I learned that the original plan for a 1-story building was changed to a 3-story building, including up to 8 multifamily units. That's quite a difference from the original plan that we had been presented and discussed. Unfortunately, I did not learn about this until after the Planning and Development Board had already approved it. This development was approved with no on-site parking for the 8 multifamily units or for the 4,000 square foot restaurant. My concern is that this area already has significant parking challenges. It's often difficult to find a spot, as you all know, at the Potbelly Starbucks Strip Mall. And we recently approved a 500% parking variation for the new Advocate facility going in at the old Beatty Lumber site. Also, my understanding is that the Mexican restaurant will have no parking for their customers or their employees. Development is a great thing, but it has to be well-planned. Years ago, the original development in that area failed to take that into account. There was not enough parking. There was a rush to approve it rather than a need to make sure it was done right. We have a chance to make sure this development is done the right way. We have to make sure that it's a well-planned development that is the envy of every other town and not a continuation of the mistakes made 20 years ago
where residents' concerns were ignored and problems with parking in the center of town were exacerbated. Together, we can make this a well-planned development that is supported by every board member and the residents in the area. Unfortunately, we haven't thought this through as a community with input from all the stakeholders. Last year, the mayor created a committee called the Patriot Station Traffic Review Committee. Since I am on it, I'm quite certain that the committee was never asked to weigh in on this project. The concerns of the residents of the neighborhood should be given consideration. Most importantly, we shouldn't build something that in 2 years, people will look back and say, what were we thinking? I do believe, and I would hope, that we can send this back to committees, the committee level, for a public hearing to discuss these issues and all the issues that so many of these residents have raised tonight and have contacted you by email. And so I'm hoping that that would be, I think, the right thing to do, to go back to committee.
Anyone, Larry, do you want to remark on any of those items?
I'd be more than happy to, Mayor, and the applicant is here tonight to give a brief presentation, but I would like to correct for the record. The development process, as I've explained to at least 2 of the meetings that I've attended that Dr. Burry had formed, and also all the planning commission. Some of you in the audience, I recognize you, you've attended the planning commission meetings. I've always explained to the residents that this is a highly complex, multi-partnership, a lot of moving part players, whether it's Norfolk Southern Railroad out of Atlanta, Georgia, whether it's Advocate Corporate out of Downers Grove, whether it's Permacore, which is a local owner of a factory that for the most part is not operated at a capacity level, more along the terms for, at least since I'm familiar, for the last decade, as a small operation with just the immediate family and small fabrication and delivery off of the site. And I might add that that factory had no parking. It utilized existing public property on 96 and also parking on Tully. So trying to bring all those players together and dealing with a failed business known as the Caris, which is the subject tonight, I presented to the board in the fall of 2016. Let me repeat, the fall of 2016, the concept of mixed-use development on the Caris site. The board adopted with their 2016 budget in December of 2016 the sale of the property for a price of $900,000. Now that really exceeds the purchase price that the village bought when they saw that property and other properties failing at the turn in the real estate market circa 2010 and 2011. Beatty went dark in the winter of 2011, and the Prairie Town Center development in the center of the town was unable to finish tower number 2, and they put a chain link fence around an area that was used by merchants on 95th Street between Cook and 52nd Court, and came to the village just before Thanksgiving, said, this is our busiest season. We have no parking, there's a chain link fence. What can you do, village, to help us? Now, none of those stores had parking. None of them, like many parking in commercial establishments on 95th. I don't have the time tonight to go through the history. The Oak Line Library has some fascinating photographs and exhibits about the history that shows 95th Street had many, many tall buildings that were commercial on the ground level, residential on the top, the mom and the pop, very reminiscent of Main Street America through its development. So the board considered a purchase and sales agreement and voted unanimously, let me repeat, on February 14 in a public meeting, this board, by ordinance, approved the purchase agreement. And I'm going to read to you a paragraph. so you all know the facts. Because when we have a discussion tonight, it ought to be on facts, and all your concerns should be addressed. But let's deal with the facts. Motion was made, seconded, vote was 6-0, everyone was attendance. Mayor does not vote unless there's a tie. So here's what paragraph 13C, D reads. Public document, you're all entitled, make your copies if you like it. Multi-use development. The purchaser obtaining prior to closing seller's approval to build a multi-use building on the property with an end cap drive-through multi-use development. The bottom floor shall consist of 2 retail establishments. One is the Dunkin' Donuts, as you've come to know it, and the other is a restaurant referred to as Mexican Cuisine. I believe I shared that in some of our meetings. Folks were anxious to know the proprietor in the background, and I shared with you, because there are concerns, is it going to be a tavern? Is it going to be sit-down restaurants? To be a sit-down restaurant, the proposed developer has been looking at restaurants in other quality communities across the Chicago area to establish one that would fit the niche market in Oak Lawn. 2 additional floors, and I quote, 2 additional floors above the retail space shall be designated as space for residential and/or commercial use. The final design of the multi-use building, end cap drive-through, landscaping, and traffic layout shall be reviewed and mutually agreed upon by the purchaser and the seller, and shall be submitted to the Planning and Development Commission and the Architectural Review and Design Commission for review and approval. So the Planning Commission, which has approved the site plan with the purchase and sales agreement executed in February of 2017. So February, this action was taken. Now, I've been asked by some, well, why is it taking so long? Why are we just seeing this here? And the very honest, truthful answer is what I've already said to you. Many moving parts, many different corporations with different boards, different procedures, title searches, survey work, environmental assessment. Advocate has closed on the permit course since our last neighborhood meeting. They've closed on the Beatty property. And tonight, pending affirmative action by the board on the railroad spur, then the Board of Trustees will execute that agreement, and working with Advocate, will make the transfer of the 3rd key parcel to their development, along with the vacation of Narrow Street as it exists now, which has been used, as your trustee has told you, never intended to be a permanent solution, and the ingress and egress being Tully, of which we all experience. Mrs. Cipriani, who called me the other day, I told her when she called me, because I live at the corner, an automobile was going one way the wrong way, which they routinely do at a high rate of speed, and then make their way down Tully to avoid 52nd Avenue and the pinching at Narrow Street. So this is a long-winded way to tell you. This document here was the actual action taken in February by the board, unanimous vote, documents. We don't act on the sale and purchase until the documents are before the board in their agenda package and acted on. Now, a trustee has said to me, what do we do to assure that this is a quality development, that the eventual materials on the exterior, the roof line, the use of cultured stone, brick, where the windows are, use of balcony, et cetera, are of a high level and are addressing the concerns that neighbors like the Farrells have, all legitimate concerns. And I appreciate Mr. Farrell getting up, because both Mr. and Mrs. Farrell have been very open, have been very, very respectful in our communications. And we pledge to them with a gentleman who I believe may have been your husband, the earlier speaker that lives near the parking lot. At the Planning Commission, we pledged to put in a masonry wall, higher quality than what exists to the home behind the Farrells, which was put in when the first section of Museum Drive went through. So we pledged to put that masonry wall, to put a cul-de-sac, of which, again, the last 3 days, my observations in the parking lot are that what Trustee Olenichik said, you've met the enemy, and the enemy is yourself. It's your actual neighbors that cut through the wrong way on your chicane, go into the neighborhood, or use the alley to avoid 52nd and then cut into your neighborhood. The cul-de-sac will put an end to that inappropriate traffic pattern. It doesn't quite address the alley yet. You all expressed an interest to me about how we address the alley, and respectfully, I'm certainly open, I know the board is, to looking that. So when Trustee Strite talks about working with you, I 100% agree with him. I think that the process is what I call iterative. It's dynamic. It continues and grow. I've said enough. Let's let the applicant make a brief PowerPoint presentation and open it up to the board to ask further questions of the applicant.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to address a few comments before that.
Sure. Trustee Phelan.
I wasn't here for the February vote, but I don't want to contradict what Larry's saying from a global standpoint, but for the last month, I probably, like everybody here, is on the receiving end of 20 calls, emails, breathless sometimes how important this is. And I'm just here to tell you, it was so convoluted and confusing, and I kept saying that the next piece of paper I have on this will be the first one. I've never seen anything. I was being asked to support something that I didn't have any information on, and I kept saying, why don't we have it? And I'm not pointing fingers and the railroad spur and the traffic light and the petitioner. And at the end of the day, if I'm a resident, I don't want to hear about iterative and complex and moving parts. I was handed something on the way to a wake last night by a community service officer. Pulled up at my house. Here you go. And open it up and got another message saying that what you have really isn't what it's going to be, but we wanted to get you something. And I'm hearing 3 levels, but this appears to show 1 level of 4 units. What is the hurry here? Why are we being asked to approve something and then something else is going to happen at the Planning Commission and then it's going to come back if it's unanimous or it's not? Anytime something is this confusing and it's going to impact this many people negatively or their perception of it negatively, now I think, again, like the comments out here, the people who contacted me and I presume contacted everybody else, they were very reasonable and expressed themselves in a respectful manner and not attacking and saying, well, wait a minute, it seems to have changed. And I'm just here to tell you, the first time I saw this February 17th vote was today. So whether it was an oversight or we forgot or, at the end of the day, people are, and the mayor pointed out she had a committee and people came and it was real positive. Why are we being asked to approve this today when there's another meeting about this?
Can I answer your
in a week or
question?
2? I'd like the manager to answer.
I asked if I could speak.
Yeah, you can, but
Okay.
I'd
All
like
right.
to have the manager answer my question.
Trustee Phelan still speaking.
All right, when you're done.
He's asked the manager, and then Bud, you're next.
Okay.
Okay. Well, again, Trustee, having lived out the entire development process that goes back at least to this corridor, and having sat in all the focus groups and public meetings followed by a 95th Street corridor adoption unanimously by the village, and based on those presentations, feedback, and the focus group was comprised of appointees from this very board. And the board unanimously voted and approved that back in 2012. And you were on the board at the time. It was a different mayor, and we have some new trustees, but that was adopted. And there was a lot of discussion about getting outdoor dining, getting more restaurants, getting more living in the downtown area. And there was some discussion about mixed-use development on the Beatty property and also on the Permacore. But quite frankly, Advocate had a proposal, came to this board, and thought it was very important and part of their big strategic plan on how they could develop and strengthen the healthcare system that serves not only Oak Lawn, but the area. And the board felt that that was the highest and best use. Anything south of the tracks was not at all well-received by Class A retailers. We couldn't get anybody from the Class A retailers to look at that site. Residential senior housing was looked at. That was frowned upon by residents who spoke at various meetings, which was the genesis for the mayor's formation of a traffic committee, not a development committee, because we've gone through that process. But how is traffic going to now flow once Narrow is closed and we develop this concept for walking and plaza area between Patriot Station?
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just asking, what is the pressure to do it tonight when there are these questions, when it's perceived that this was a change? And I got to be honest, we've talked for the last 3 weeks, and I kept saying, it seemed to be that everyone was talking like, ooh, this is a surprise, or this is a change. Well, wait a minute, maybe the developer had this in mind. Or what is why tonight? Why tonight? And then another meeting, planning development. Is there some, if it doesn't happen tonight, if they don't spend more time giving us what it actually is going to look like, and I only see 4 units here, I'm hearing 8, why are we being asked to approve it? It seems incomplete. Is there some, if we don't do it tonight, the federal grant's going to run away, or some, that type of thing? That's what I want to hear.
Well, the board did approve a budget with the sale of this property in it. As I mentioned, the sale price is more than fair. It exceeds the appraisal that we secured. We have a $1.9 million federal grant, and I'm probably on the low side, Jack, but that provides for the new ingress and egress and traffic signal. Traffic signals today are over $700,000 at 50th Court and 95th. Why we're even considering here is because, again, delays in negotiations, mainly because of the railroad, mainly because of Advocate, and then we ran into IDOT. And IDOT very thoroughly looked at the geometrics, wanted to make sure that the signalization proximity to the railroad tracks was appropriate. That's why in 2005, they rejected a former plan by the board to put the traffic signal at Museum Drive. That was faulty from the get-go back in 2005. So IDOT, to their credit, took a lot longer than we expected, came through and adopted the plan. So we're poised to go in what's called Phase 2 engineering design on the road. That is essential because Advocate is now, after buying the property, closing, will be meeting this Thursday with staff to go over their scheduled demolition. They want to commence demolition this fall. They want to lay the foundation in the spring of 2018. And getting this all in place and addressing commuter traffic, getting the signal in, building the new road configuration are all critical. And we have a developer, quite frankly, who's been very patient, respectful, and spent a lot of money, a lot of soft hours to get where he is. Now, I think it's appropriate to hear the presentation, address any questions, additional questions the board may have. I think Trustee Stalker wants to speak as well.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this has not been a very, very complex project. That's important for residents to know everything that's going on. But from my vision, when I left the parking lot at 7:15 tonight and dark coming over here, it's what we have seen in what the last aerial shots taken by the engineering department have shown since 2015. You have an underutilized 33% asset called a parking lot there with 51 spaces with a reconfiguration, and I don't think the parking lot has been lined for years. It's pretty, you got to get out, you got to count the bumper stops, et cetera. But every time I'm there, I've already shared with the board what I've observed. No need to share it. I've given you pictures of what is occurring in that parking lot. And I don't think that that is the highest and best use or protection for a very strong, good residential neighborhood. I want to see it strengthened. But the commercial component there, if done correctly, I think doesn't reduce values, it only increases values. That's my professional opinion, not a political opinion. You're the governing body, you'll ultimately make that call. But I've successfully done this in other communities. It's been done for years. And you can go to those communities today and you can see property values shooting up in locations close to retail and commercial establishments, not shooting down. Those are the facts.
So there's no deadline tonight that's gonna cause some catastrophic thing if we don't approve it tonight? That's all I'm asking. And I'm not asking
I'm only saying,
narrative, I
Trustee,
just,
there's always risks. There's risks in any decision that is made or not made. And I'll let the applicant speak to that. I think the applicant is very respectful, and they volunteered to go back to the planning commission because they had to go over the discussion of ownership and make that decision that they were going to build units that they were owning. They were going to be condominium units. They were going to show the exact square footage. They had to listen to the proposal as far as a parking permit from the village, which they would pay the market fee to locate those vehicles. And the gentleman from, again, I apologize. Okay. The concern was about the fence and their home just to the south. If you looked at the pictures that I shared with the board, you have landscaping or trees that probably haven't been cut. They're overgrown on the driveway, on the parking lot. I can't imagine when they were cut. Some may belong to the property owner, some may be village. There's no survey out there. But there's really a need to fix that up. And then if you look at the Farrell's property, what we said to the Farrells, with the approval of this project and Phase 2 engineering, we would go out and work with them on where they would like to position the masonry wall so that they can maximize what they want to landscape, what they want to maintain on their property, and where we can position to plant what I would think would be very successful mature evergreens. You can see the growth that's taken place around the village green. It doesn't take long to reach a very good height and a good buffer for some of the concerns they have.
Okay, Trustee Stalker.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that, yes, we did approve that principle in February this year. Trustee Phelan was not on the board. It'll take a little research for you to figure out what we did. You got to read the minutes, but we did do that. What we're doing here with these motions is approving a site plan and a parking variation. That's all. That's what it says. We are not changing the character of what we approved. There will be more review and more adjustments, if necessary, to make that building suitable for the site. But alls we're talking about is a site plan, setback, and parking. The building that you see has already been approved. Not completely, but the principle. 8 units, 2 commercial, it's approved. So there's no rush to do it. It's done. If you want to change it, trustee, you have to go back and start from scratch. We're only talking about a site plan. That's all.
purchase and sale agreement
Trustee
does
Warder.
not talk about 8 units.
Trustee Warder, please.
Yeah, just to confirm what the village manager's telling us, I've sat in on many, many meetings, many hours, on all the components that have come together to make this development a first-class downtown development. I sat in on railroad meetings, we sat in on how many hospital meetings, we sat in and putting it all together, everybody had their own personal interest, everybody wanted the maximum dollars for their property. There was a lot of time to get us till tonight, and I was here for the vote on the residential component. And as Trustee Stalker said, this is already a done deal, okay? Now, we approve it tonight. This goes back, okay, the architecture, review, we tweak the buildings. Personally, what I see here, as Trustee Desmond said to me today in brief conversation, this building looks like something from the 1960s from the Ukraine construction architecture. But we can tweak that, okay, and I think we can do a good job with it. I understand the concerns, but there are a lot of five-story buildings in the same neighborhood which are looking down on people's backyards. I don't get that.
Okay,
Maybe not on 50th
know,
Court, but other neighbors.
folks, we're gonna have a business-like meeting. I appreciate audience input, but we need to let the trustees speak.
And, you know, I live in the shadow of the hospital. It's 9 stories. People look down at my yard, too. So I understand your concerns, but it's what happens when you live in Oak Lawn. It's different.
Okay, and I'm gonna call the, okay, trustee Straight, then we're gonna have the presentation.
Okay, all right, and look, I think that we have certainly trying to be respectful as possible. I think the residents have been too. I want to say this, though. We can sit here and say that we approved something in February. It's allowed for 3 stories. I've been opposed to additional multifamily in that area on the record. I've been on the record very clearly for a very long time. And quite frankly, I know some of these residents sat in meetings where they were told this is going to be a 1-story Dunkin' Donuts. I was told that repeatedly. So we've been hearing that. And trustees, you can sit there and say, oh, we always knew it was 3-story. Nobody else thought that, I guarantee you. So it did change. In fact, I hope if the developer would be honest, I can tell you that this thing slipped through the Planning Development Board so quickly, they had no idea what was happening. I guarantee you. All right? And if the developer would be honest and say, when did you come forward and say, we want the apartments on top? It was within the last several weeks, for sure. If anybody's going to be honest, that's what we're going to hear. And to Trustee Phelan's point, what is the rush? You know, why not let people have their say? And we all want the best development. Everybody does. I do too. And I mean, when you're told it's going to be a 1-story Dunkin' Donuts and then all of a sudden it changes, you know, there's many concerns. And I know that we're not all going to get what we want. And I get that for sure. I'm certainly not going to get what I want. But I hope that we can at least have our say. If we could just go back to committee and let everybody weigh in the way the process should work, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you. Larry, you have the floor.
You know, mayor and board and neighborhood. And, you know, I distinctly recall, just like you, I live in the neighborhood. Got on the elevator tonight. My neighbor says to me, Larry, are we really going to see that awful-looking site on either side of the property? Is it going to be redeveloped? And I said, Marilyn, let me give you an update. Feel free to attend the meeting. I don't see her here tonight. There are 57,000 residents in Oak Lawn. We don't see 57,000 here. I know a lot of them do listen to and watch the board meetings, and that's good. And you live in the neighborhood. I'm looking specifically at the Farrells. So I do respect every discussion we had. And we may not, agree. You're very passionate about it, and I'm pretty passionate too. And I have some opinions as your manager on going forward. I have absolutely no problem, and I'm sure the developer will speak to that, as far as listening to every concern. But I also have a lot of confidence in our Architectural Design and Review Commission that I think does a wonderful job. Those are volunteer citizens, meet twice a month. They look at the architecture, the landscaping, the roof line, the colors, the signage. You can't even put a sign on commercial buildings in Oak Lawn without working with them. And I think if you were all genuinely honest and you look at Oak Lawn, because I do try, I'm a little biased. I like to listen to folks who have grown up in Oak Lawn and return and say, wow, things look different. I've looked at those monument signs. I've seen there's something going on here in Oak Lawn. What's happening in Stony Creek? What's happening on Phase 2? And hopefully some good announcements on that that'll be forthcoming. But there's a lot of change that is occurring in this community on a positive basis, and I certainly know change is not easy. It definitely isn't easy. It scares folks. It worries folks. But we're all committed here to enhance the quality of life, not to take away from the quality of life. And that's our commitment. And then if we can have a respectful civil discussion about, well, okay, Mr. Manager, quality of life. Let's talk about noise. Let's talk about the lighting. Are awnings involved? What type of the species of trees do you think most appropriate? We feel this way. What is the size of the masonry wall? Do we have a gate opening, which we, talked a little bit. How does it look? What is the appearance? We worked hard to get IDOT to approve the geometrics on the queuing. And queuing for the Dunkin' Donuts, because we wanted to avoid what occurs at Starbucks at 103rd and Cicero, and Dunkin' Donuts at Central and 103rd, both which have been complaints because there wasn't at the beginning the thoughtful consideration of proper queuing. Now, we've learned a lot, and we had police involved in these meetings, Traffic Control Division, and our traffic engineer, our outside engineer, Burke Engineering, and we looked to make sure we have the proper queuing, and we have 2 lines of queuing within their property, so that affected and actually reduces. I think someone said the footprint's 10,000 square feet. At one time, envisioned to have a footprint of 10,000 square feet. Can't be done because a decel lane required off of 95th Street for eastbound traffic is being dictated by IDOT. So we had to shave a little bit off of the Karis property as it's known to be purchased. The buyer agreed with that. It reduced the footprint, I want to say, and we'll hear in the presentation, I think it's, the plate now is about 7,700, or it's certainly not 10,000 square feet. Bob is correct. Early on, again, I'll read the language. It said additional floors for residential and/or commercial. So they looked at commercial. Would we put a doctor's office? Could we get some other sort of commercial use, attorney's office, engineering office to consider on another floor versus a residential? They did their market analysis. They paid to have the market analysis, and they determined what, at least what I'm seeing in Arbor Court, is this growth of professional positions that work either in the advocate system or take advantage of a wonderful commuter system that gets you downtown in Union Station in 24 minutes, and will be even better when they correct the confluence of traffic and freight further into the city. So you got to look at that future. And then someone, I think, today wrote and said, well, we don't have, I think it was the young lady who spoke at the end and has emailed us, and respectfully, twice I've suggested that the village engineer and I would be more than happy to meet with her, and I'm looking forward to that meeting at a time that works for her work schedule. But in it, she talked about a deficient multimodal transportation system. Ladies and gentlemen, I take the red line at Dan Ryan and 95th to go to Wrigleyville. I don't take it to the Sox Park because I can take the Rock Island and get right off to go to Sox Park. But I take that. I take my wife. I take my son. Have you looked at what's under construction? $250 million improvement to that station at 95th. And Pace is going to be expanding their service to there. Down the road, other generations, you may see a dedicated bus lane that goes down 95th. That's all coming. You are going to
Excuse me, Larry. We have a lot to cover here, and we've heard this argument before. And can I just, clarify kind of what everybody said, and let these guys do their presentation. There is nothing, I see nothing on here about residential. We all approved 2 floors above retail back in February. What's on here is approving a setback, landscaping, parking, and loading berth variation, and vacating a portion of 51st Avenue. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Now, I still want to hear these guys' presentation, but I can tell you guys right now, if that was up before us tonight for approval, I'd be voting no. So I hope you have some a little more to offer than what's up there right now. So
Thank you, Trustee Desmond. Let's hear this presentation, gentlemen. If you can come to the microphone, introduce yourself, and you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is George Arnold. I'm the attorney representing the petitioner. We are seeking approval of the variances that are before you tonight to allow us to proceed forward with the mixed-use development. Also present here is Sadiq Punawala, who is the development manager for the petitioner, and the architect Cal Muhammad, who is the architect for the petitioner. As you've all said, we are aware that we are going back before the Plan Commission on the 18th for the residential component. We also are aware and look forward to going before the Architectural Review Committee to finalize the architectural elements of the proposed building. And I would like to invite Cal Muhammad, the architect, to present the project.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Cal Muhammad with FHS. We are the architects for the project. I'd just like to start by with the site plan, just to go over what we're looking at doing here. And just to, again, remind everybody we're here for parking, setbacks, landscaping, variances, nothing else. There were some things put together, and we'll go through the whole slides just to give you an idea of the project. But this is the main thing that everybody should be looking at. Basically, the Museum Drive is going to be vacated and extended over to 50th Court. We're left with a site that's very minimal in size and very difficult to develop. So in order to create a decent-sized commercial space that can handle a Dunkin' Donuts and a restaurant, we're very minimal parking space available at that point. Obviously, with the Dunkin' Donuts, we have a drive-through lane that wraps around the entire building, giving us quite a bit of stacking space to alleviate anything that leads out onto Museum Drive and could cause traffic problems. So that was the intention of the design of the site, to minimize the amount of traffic issues that would arise from this. The other thing I want to point out to you here on the site plan is this existing village-owned commercial parking lot with 51 parking spaces that has with close proximity to the site, which will be used for parking as well. We're looking at providing pedestrian access, crossing Museum Drive to access the building. We've also provided an inset into the curb along Museum Drive, which will act as a loading area and a valet area for the restaurant. These are two businesses that will operate at different times. You have the Dunkin' Donuts morning business and the evening business of the restaurant. Loading zone will be utilized variably and mostly for the valet in the evening times. So again, we're just looking at reducing of the parking and utilizing the existing commercial parking lot, which is very close by, and reducing the landscaping and setbacks in order to provide a continuous drive-through lane for the Dunkin' Donuts. You can go to the next one. So the next slides, I want to just let you know that this is just a very basic idea of what the intention is. Two spaces, one with the Dunkin' Donuts and drive-through lane, and another space for the restaurant. Dunkin' Donuts will be approximately 18 to 2,000 square feet. The restaurant will be approximately 4,000 square feet. And there will be access to the upper levels with an elevator and 2 stairwells. You can go to the next one. The upper levels, again, was just a preliminary idea of 4 units per floor, so it'll be 2 floors. As you mentioned previously, Trustee, about that, it's a typical layout for both floors, so it'll be repetitive on the 2 upper levels. Second and third floor will be the same. Go to the next. This is just to identify the heights and kind of let everybody know what we're looking at as far as massing. With this being the residence that's south of the property, this being Museum Drive here, and this being the development that we're looking at. Over here, you'll see 95th Street. So this is basically cutting through the entire site from the residence behind Museum Drive all the way to across north side of 95th Street. This being the building with the Cold Stone Creamery and the apartments above. So just to give you a scale of the project that we're doing in comparison to the surrounding buildings. We're maxing out at 45 feet, which is the allowable height. I'm not looking for a variance there. And you can see some of the things that the village manager mentioned was the wall, screening wall that would happen on the other side of Museum Drive here. And we'll be providing some landscaping to provide a buffer around the building and around the drive-through lane. Go to the next. So, and, we're gonna just basically flip through these quickly. The intention of this is basically to allow everybody to see the massing of the building and don't get caught up on the colors or the materials. None of that has been developed. Obviously, we're gonna be dealing with the Architectural Review Board and getting into the design further along the process. This is just the step that we need to move forward to get to that point where we'll start developing the design of the building. But you can just get an idea of the restaurant with the windows most likely being operable along the northwest corner of the building and entrance to the restaurant from this side, also along from the Museum Drive side. And with the Dunkin' Donuts on the other corner there. You can kind of see again, massing ideas of windows and balconies that would happen up on the upper levels for the residential space.
Excuse me.
Go to the next one.
Excuse me. Is there any, have you allowed any room here for outdoor dining? I mean, all we're hearing and what we would like in the downtown area is outdoor dining. Yet
yeah, well,
there's nothing here. And I don't mean, windows that open.
Right.
I mean sitting outside.
Right. Well, that's something that's been happening with a lot of fine restaurants now. Oh, I'm sorry. That you have you still have the comfort of being indoors with the windows open and outdoor feeling, rather than completely being outdoors. In upscale restaurants, you don't really get a lot of that happening with complete outdoor seating.
So you're saying no?
So no, we didn't provide any outdoor seating in this situation, only due to the limited space of the site and the amount of parking that we need to maximize the parking that we can get on the property without requesting a huge variation. Otherwise, we would have to eliminate pretty much most of the parking on the site itself. Go to the next one.
What about, can you do, I don't know, on the second floor, some outdoor? I mean, I don't know. Again, it looks, it's not, you would think you would be better prepared if you're coming here before us looking for approval.
Well, we're not looking, I mean, again, I want to just kind of flip through these real quickly, if you don't mind, next couple of ones. We're not looking for, approval on the design. This was, very, very schematic, just massing, just a quick image, just to get an idea of scale of the building. Not for aesthetics, not for anything else, materials or anything as far as actual placement of where the balconies are or where the windows are or any of that. Because that's going to take a long time to process, to develop the floor plans of each space and the actual layouts for the stores and the restaurants.
Is there a reason, I mean, the frustration I have is, we hear on the one hand, this has been approved since February, yet I get something delivered to my house last night, and it's not what it's gonna be. I mean, wasn't there any forethought to, as the months were flying by, to start, the eventual design, what it is gonna look like, or close to look like, or, to Tim's point, it's just like, we have big boards there with pictures of things that it's not going to be. But we're being asked to approve, but it's not really that, it's gonna be something. It's just really, really unsettling.
Well, could you go back to the site plan? Sorry. So again, if you go back to the site plan, this is what we're approving, and this is what it's going to be, pretty much, as far as the site is considered. The layout, the parking, the building size, the drive-through lane, the drop-off, valet, loading area, everything here is what we're looking at as far as approval.
Yeah, and I don't think
the image of the building.
Nobody has a problem with that picture.
Right.
So when you put the other stuff.
So I guess the other pictures weren't necessary for this meeting.
That's a bit of a stretch.
We're providing those to give you an idea of the scale of the building rather than to show you what the building is going to look like. So just keep that in mind, that
If I can ask, sir.
we're looking at heights, we're looking at scale of the building itself.
So Monday you'll go before planning and development and talk about those things, correct?
Correct.
So you're gonna show them this, and what are you going to suggest as far as finishes, and, are you ready for them on Monday?
Well, the finishes and the aesthetics will be something we'll be dealing with the architect,
Correct,
right?
correct. Unfortunately, we can't do that.
I would have asked about the parking. Seems like there's not many parking for Dunkin' Donuts.
So if a trustee would like to address that, I'm not gonna have it be
Take my question.
it's not that kind of meeting, sir. I'm really sorry. Monday, please go,
Madam Mayor,
and,
Madam Mayor, I would like to address that, because that,
sure.
as the resident brought out, is I cannot get over the parking and the issue that we have with the parking on. And you know, of all people, in the building that you live in right across the street, one of the biggest struggles we have in that neighborhood is the parking, especially for the residential and especially for the businesses that are there. And I look across the street, it was a great plan, we're gonna have restaurants. You've seen the failures of the restaurants across the street in that building there. I believe we're on our third failure.
Well,
That concerns me.
It's frankly the high taxes.
Do you think that's gonna be any cheaper?
Well, if you're talking about the parking being the failure
Well, no, but I'm
in the 51st Avenue station, it's the high tax.
But I'm also saying that, in my humble opinion, it is a bad design what happened on 51st Street based off of the issues that have happened in the neighborhood. And when I look at this and I see the parking, I still can't get past the parking because you still are counting on, I assume, the people that would live there are going to have to use the municipal parking, so they're gonna walk over. The reality of that is, that's gonna be apartments, correct, rental?
Sorry?
You're gonna rent the apartments out up top, correct?
Condominiums.
So they're gonna be condominiums, so they're gonna be owners. So if I own a condominium, I don't have a parking space, I've gotta walk to municipal parking.
I think the village manager mentioned that there was an agreement being worked out.
I'm just explaining that the parking variance that you're asking for, and I don't see it working out. And I've got a parking variance that's very similar to this across the street that happened way prior to me becoming a trustee, but we live with it every day. And I do believe that when you look at the reality that you're gonna have high taxes and the reality of foot traffic and the ability to move people in and out of there, I don't see it working.
So can I ask, sir, where the valet will park the cars for the upscale restaurant? Do you know?
Parking lot, so the intention was the village park, there was an agreement that's gonna be made with the city for the village park, commercial parking lot to be utilized
Okay.
by the owners, by the developers.
Okay, and those are used by other businesses as well, so that's kind of the concern.
51 spaces in there.
Right, and there is a restaurant that uses a doctor's office, and other things as well. So we're familiar it's not fully utilized, and I think the residents in the neighborhood would see that it's not fully utilized either, but, okay, trustee Warder's been.
Yeah, just,
trying to
Larry,
speak.
with this design, we're gonna totally redesign the entrance and exit of our commuter parking lot. There's hundreds of parking spots in there. How does that factor in?
Well, pretty significantly, given what the peak hours, for example, like Palermo's Valets with an arrangement with Fifth Third Bank. In the evening, Fifth Third Bank, with their large operations, the two buildings, has a plethora of extra parking spaces. The garage has more in the off hours, and certainly on the weekend. That's one of the factors years ago, quite frankly, when that garage was developed. I believe the intent was well thought of, that we're going to have a garage that's gonna serve multiple uses. Now, to me, again, I even talk about the 30 parking spaces, what I call the Tusick parking lot. Well, that's not a Tusick parking lot. That's a village-owned parking lot, 30 spaces. Peak today, there were approximately 12 cars, 30-car parking space. This lot at peak, talking about probably 12, and at 7 o'clock, 7, mainly serving the sushi restaurant all the other office businesses like Düsseldorf accountants had gone home. Unless it's tax season, the mayor's correct, there'll be other use. But from a valet standpoint, you use the parking garage
Madam Mayor,
for
when,
employees.
one last thing I want to think. So you're planning on 8 condominiums that are going to have an average household has 2 cars. That's correct? 8 times 2 is 16. How many parking spaces are in there? In the municipal parking lot that you're talking about?
51.
So you really think that the people who are going to go eat at a restaurant are going to go to valet parking or park themselves over there? And when you compare Palermo's is an existing business that built up its clientele. And if you look at the facts of the restaurant business, we've seen it in Oak Lawn. If you don't have your business, your clientele is not going to be, you have to build the business. So it's not a fair comparison of saying comparing Palermo's and what the arrangement they have with Fifth Third and valet parking to this. Palermo's started off with a small corner lot and expanded their business. I'm just concerned, as Trustee Strite said, that this is a bad plan. I've seen it right across the street in 2nd District. And the parking variances, it doesn't make sense to me.
Mayor?
Trustee Stalker.
You know, I looked at this as the approval of a site plan, which I just told you. I think there are enough problems with this design that I think we have to allow them to go before planning and development, make a better proposal, and we can come back in 2 weeks and look at it.
Motion to table?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Oliniechek to table. Attorney.
Draw the motion.
Vote
We
against.
we have a motion to approve, first by trustee Demon, second by trustee Stalker. Now, what we're contemplating is a superseding motion to table or refer it back to committee.
If it's superseding, refer it back to committee.
Okay.
Is that, I think
That's acceptable, and I withdraw my second.
Okay, so, so we have a motion to refer it back to committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second is trustee Strite.
I was first.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, so, any discussion?
That was a first by Bud and a second.
No, it was Bud withdrew his,
Okay, so who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Trustee Oliniechek, and the second was trustee Strite, to move this item back to committee in anticipation of being on our next agenda here, in the second Tuesday of, no, the 4th Tuesday in October, in September.
17 and 18.
Okay, on items 17 and 18,
Point of information, P&D is when, tomorrow?
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, planning and development will be Monday, and there is plenty of opportunity for public comments at that, and again, I want to, before we call the vote, I want to thank the residents for their thoughtful, respectful letters. All of us have been impressed by them. And any other discussion?
I just want to echo what the mayor said. You guys who live in the neighborhood put very good information out there. Thank you for your involvement, and we do listen.
Yeah. Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strite?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, guys, we like the concept as originally presented. No resident has really said no commercial there. Everyone really wants that awful building to go away and be something beautiful. But we're asking you collectively, I guess, step up the game, impress these residents, and we look forward to seeing your plans.
Thank you for your. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So that was item 17 and 18. We also have item 19 and 20. Item 19 is a request to approve the Planning and Development Commission referral for vacation of a portion of 51st Avenue Museum Drive south of 95th Street, approximately 116 and a half feet. This was a 8-0 vote to approve petition 2017-16. Amin Pajwani is the petitioner in District 3, and then 20 is an ordinance granting that request. We have motion on 19 and 20.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Desmond made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Vorder is our second. Any discussion?
Just a point of order. Are we vacating this no matter what their plan is?
Larry?
We could also table this and take action on it all at the same time, unless I'm incorrect. Larry?
I don't see how any development can occur without the vacation. I would suggest tabling this. Let's
That's
look at
fine.
it all
That was my
together. That would
was
be
my thought.
recommendation. Table on this too.
Okay, so, but are you making a superseding motion to table or refer back to committee, or what are we doing?
Motion to table.
Okay, motion table till when, please?
How about until the other matter comes back?
Okay,
With the
so
other-
we have a motion from trustee Stalker to table this until the other matter comes before this board. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Oliniechek is our second. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. This brings us to item 21, ordinance 171556, an ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 14 of the Oak Lawn Village Code entitled Impoundment of Motor Vehicles by increasing the administrative towing fee. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
On 21, trustee Vorder made that motion. Do I have a
Second.
Second, trustee Stalker is our second. Any discussion here? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
22 is ordinance 171557, an ordinance granting the amendment of Title II, Chapter 20, Section 4 of the Oak Lawn Municipal Code to allow for the amendment of Architectural and Design Review Commission's powers and duties. May I have a motion, please, on 22?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Stalker made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Desmond, thank you, is our second. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
And I applaud those changes that include townhomes, and I can't believe that wasn't in there. One of those things you see. Item 23, ordinance number 171558, an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 7, Section 1, Title I, Chapter 2, Section 3, Title I, Chapter 7, Section 4, Title I, Chapter 7, Section 5, Title I, Chapter 7, Section 6, Title I, Chapter 7, Section 7, providing changes to the appointment process and powers and duties of the trustee committees. May I have a motion, please, on 23?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve by trustee Phelan. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, that was you, trustee Oliniechek?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any discussion here?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just want to briefly review what we talked about the last meeting. The primary reason to look to do this is to simplify matters as it relates to our code. If you look at our code, it's, in many cases, really outdated, and specific to these trustee committees, there were powers that sit with these committees that I don't think were consistent with what people want to do. For example, the Finance Committee had the independent authority to sell property. Frankly, I didn't know that till I started looking at it. Kevin Casey showed us that. There was references to the Director of Administration as a board member, and we haven't had that position for 10 years. And the other reason is so that we stay within code, because, and abide by our ordinances. We had Finance Committee, was supposed to get monthly reports from our finance director. That's not realistic. As you picked up on, Mayor, there was references to Cablevision, replete, even before they cut it out. So the primary reason to simplify this, but most importantly to, go back to the original point of it, is these are workshops, for lack of a better term. They don't have any independent authority. If a 3-member trustee committee wanted to do something and came before the board, the other 4 members of the board can vote it down, and vice versa. If somebody on the committee wanted to do something and the other 2 said no, that person can come find another board member. So the idea is to divide up work, if you will, so we all don't have to do all the work and to rely on our various expertise to the extent we can. So I know there were some concerns about what, committees might be doing, this, that, or the other thing. When I talked to the attorneys, we kept putting the emphasis on these are workshops. Anybody can attend them. kind of simplify and make them more uniform. There are 3 trustees, mayor's ex officio. Anybody can attend, the trustees can request staff, et cetera. So it's not to exclude anybody, but, you know, to the extent there's perceptions about that, they have no power. And that's what hopefully we all take comfort in knowing that I'm going to trust that the Public Works Committee is going to do what they're going to do, and if I disagree with it, I'll just disagree with it at the board table. So I just want to make that clear, because there were some good questions about that.
Okay, is that it, trustee Phelan? Okay, trustee Warder wanted to talk, then trustee Stalker.
Tom, I agree with a whole lot of what's going on here. I do have a question, though, on the appointment process. Why are we taking the mayor out of the appointment process? That's worked pretty good for 50-some years. I don't think there's any problem with that. I don't understand how any one of us trustees can recommend an appointment.
Well, it's a matter no different than any measure before the board. The mayor will be involved if we can't come to a consensus. But if you think about it logically, you know, are you going to ask the mayor who you think should be on the trustee committee? You know, our government is set up so that we, the trustees, set policy, and to the extent we don't agree, and there's a 3-3 tie, the mayor comes in, and it's no different here. So she does have the quote-unquote ability. It's not necessary, okay, and nor does it really make sense fundamentally. When you think about these are trustee committees, you know, we're not children asking the mayor, what should we do? But when there's a problem, you know, and it doesn't matter who proposes somebody for a chairman, or, you know, the mayor has a great point. Well, what if there's disagreement there? Well, we'll vote. It won't go through. We'll vote again, no different than any other measure. So it's really, again, to emphasize, it's simplifying. I mean, you look at our code, it is so outdated in many respects. And you look at some best practices. I went and looked at various codes of top 10 municipalities in the country, looked at their websites, their agendas. You know, this is the type of thing you're seeing, simplification. You know, there's references to positions that are way outdated. There were committees that don't even exist anymore on our code book. So there's no change in the structure. There's no change in the power. There are workshops, and to the extent that there isn't agreement, the mayor decides.
Okay, trustee Stalker.
I absolutely agree that our current committee structure is outdated, archaic, and difficult to deal with. But I certainly believe in the committee structure. And for that reason, this recommendation should go to the Legislative Licensing and Ethics Committee, which is already formed and has never reviewed it. And that's where I recommend it go for open discussion, a workshop where we can go through all the ordinances that pertain to committees, and we can correct them all equally. There's nothing wrong with an attempt to do it in a blind sweep, except I'm afraid that we're changing who is in charge and who makes the decisions. Let's have an open discussion in the committee it should go to.
So-
Legislative Licensing and Ethics.
Are you making a motion to refer it to that committee?
There's a motion on the floor, Mayor. I don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a motion to, a superseding motion to refer
Well, I
to,
have a
Motion to-
I have a
motion to refer.
approve, and there's a second.
Okay.
but he can make a superseding motion.
It's a superseding, so, okay, so.
I do
so-
move that.
Then I
So we
second.
have a motion to move this item to committee, again, legislative license and ordinance, and a second by, that was trustee Stalker, and a second by trustee Vorderer. Any discussion?
Yeah, you know, how long will this take? We already, Trustee Phelan has already done all the work with the village attorneys. Are we now going to, check his work? If the work is done and the village attorneys are in agreement with it, why are we doing it all over again? You can see tonight, we got what? I got to add up all the X's and V's. We got a full agenda. We shouldn't.
So.
We need to manage our time a little better.
Thank you.
If a trustee has already taken the time to do all this work,
Well, that's where the
under the
committee
village attorneys,
structure,
do we need to do it all again?
that's where the committee structure is important, because all this is done before it goes to the board instead of at the board table.
Madam Mayor, if
I
I
think, actually trustee Warder was next,
Yeah.
then trustee Phelan.
Yeah, it would seem to me this is a major change in the ordinances, and isn't that the purpose of legal ordinance? I sit on that committee. Why don't we vet that before we come to this board and change an ordinance? That's the purpose of legal and ordinance, not one trustee doing the research work, but all of us having some input into it.
Okay, trustee Phelan.
Right, and to the extent that people are forgetting, everybody did have input. I asked over the course of 3 weeks, every trustee here what they thought, asked for suggestions, they gave suggestions. So, to Tim's point, I didn't do the work, I simply asked, hey, what do you guys think? And we made changes accordingly. So we can sit and move things back and forth to the committees that don't have any power anyway and make ourselves feel good, or we could sit here where the legislative power exists, and as Tim says, move the village forward. I mean, there's a point where, the meetings and referring back and forth, we are who we're waiting for. We are the people. You did have input, Bud. I did ask you. I asked Bob. I asked Tim. I asked Alex. I asked Terry. So the only work I did was asking the attorneys to make what we wanted, presumably, because nobody said no, consistent with what the code is. That's all.
So I want to thank you for your hard work on that, Tom. I have a couple just things that, if it goes to committee, I would like the multimedia Cablevision reference removed. That shouldn't even be in what we're voting on today. I'm a little concerned that what has been for, I think trustee Warder said 50 years, I think it's closer to 70 years, what has been the process is just being changed quickly. And I'm not so concerned about the mayor's component of it, although that bothers me a little bit, but mostly I'm concerned about the ex officio members who now serve on all these committees. Ex officio means they don't vote, but they can participate freely. For example, in the Public Works Committee, our Public Works Director is an ex officio member, and he can come to the meeting without permission and contribute. The way this would be changed, he would have to ask permission to do anything. And
Madam Mayor, I read through it.
I'm speaking, please. And our current code says our village treasurer, who works, very closely with our finance department, he's an ex officio member of the finance committee. That wouldn't be the case. Again, the treasurer, should he have questions, would need permission to get involved, where by the nature of his office, he should be contributing. I have these little concerns, and no one has been able to answer for me why we're changing it in the first place. What problem are we correcting? Is this a solution without a problem? I'm all for redoing it. I'm all for looking at it, and it is a new age. And Tom, you worked really hard on this, and 90% of what you've done, I agree with, but no one frankly asked me, and no one, has answered my questions on that. And it's okay if you guys want it that way. I support you, but,
Madam Mayor, if I might.
I was first.
I had the table.
okay.
But there's a vote, but I just want to go.
Remember,
Anybody.
We'll start here and go back.
I run and been on the Public Works for many years, and yes, you have your Public Works Director. He's invited to come to it. He can come to it anytime. Matter of fact, any resident can come to any one of these meetings. They're posted. It's up for public. And just like in this meeting, if a resident wants to speak, they would have to address the floor. It's the same thing. Steve Barrett, when he's in any of the Public Works Committee meetings, he addresses the board. It's the exact same thing. I don't know where you're reading into would have to ask permission to participate.
Well, it's-
A public meeting,
He would
just
not-
so you understand, Madam
Not
Mayor.
be a ex officio member anymore.
Just a minute, just so you understand, Madam Mayor, all of our business is done in public meetings. And in a public meeting, anybody who is a resident or not a resident, Village of Oak Lawn, is welcome to come in and welcome to participate.
And I'm not saying that that's not happening, but can you talk, Paul, about what an ex officio member is versus, what rights do they have? Obviously, these are non-voting positions.
Well, actually, because they're not excluded. So under Robert's rules, ex officio members do have the right to vote unless stated otherwise. So currently in our code, the only individual that is an ex officio member it's articulated that does not have the right to vote is yourself, the mayor, right? So theoretically, the treasurer could vote at the finance committee. I don't know if he ever has, but it's not excluded, therefore he would be included in the vote. So that's a little nuance when we're dealing with ex officio members. So unless it's delineated in our code that they don't have the right to vote, any ex officio member would have the right to vote.
Okay.
To be clear. So I know, for example, the finance, village manager, treasurer, and the administrator, which doesn't exist anymore, those were all ex officio members, but it wasn't delineated that they did not have the right to vote. So theoretically, they would have the right to vote. You yourself, being an ex officio member, because it was delineated that you did not have the right to vote, could not vote in the committee.
Correct.
So those are the little nuances that go on.
Correct.
And Madam Mayor, let's play semantics with this, because in all of the meetings that I sat in, every one of those meetings where those people had the right to vote, never happened. And the recommendations going up to the village board, where the vote comes in, that every one of those boards is a recommending body, and the village board is the one that votes on it.
Yeah.
What's the problem with
don't.
having them, ex officio members?
If I could
In
address-
fact,
Okay,
in
actually,
fact,
trustee Stalker, then trustee Warder, then trustee Phelan.
in fact, if you're not an ex officio member, you don't even have the right to speak at these meetings unless you're recognized by the chair. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
So you're taking away a lot of opportunity for people who need to speak from speaking. We have a committee structure that is archaic. I will openly admit that. But we do have a functioning committee that operates very well. It's called Legislative Licensing and Ethics. Let's send it there.
You've
already
already
made
Okay.
motion, you can go for a
Trustee, trustee Stalker, trustee Phelan, then trustee Warder.
Okay.
Yeah, again, just the mayor referenced not being involved, and I jokingly said to her today, her 37th email with me back and forth on this. She's passionate about it, I get it. I mean, it really is, you spend time on these things, and it's like two ships passing in the night. They have no power. We can make everybody ex officio. And I have no problem with that. The point is, these are trustee committees, they're workshops. They have no legislative power. As Alex said, we could sit there and say, we want to do this, and the board can say no. If we want to make, the point is, we have responsibilities as elected officials, meaning we're required to go to these meetings. The treasurer is not, the finance director is not. We could request that they can. Nobody's going to exclude anybody, to Alex's point, but if we want to add ex officio, that's fine. You know what I mean? We're arguing about things that are inconsequential, talking about going back to meetings that we all sit on. This is simplification, nothing more. That's all it is. I mean, we have so many big things to worry about that we sit here and nitpick on, and I do mean that, because we're talking about committees that are workshops, nothing more. And that's what they should be, so that we can divide up the work. So,
Well, I guess right now, the board is pretty amicable. We kind of get along. We all want to move Oak Lawn forward. We all, are in sync pretty much, which is a rare thing in the village of Oak Lawn, is anyone who comes to these meetings knows. I think the system in place all these years, and I'm sorry, I'm going out of my order. I was going to call on trustee Warder. I'm sorry, I'm going to buy it. Trustee Warder.
Well, I agree with Bud. You know what, Tom? These committees have always been just recommending committees with no real power, but it gave us an opportunity to sit and discuss the things we're sitting right here and be able to come up with a conclusion and make a recommendation to the whole board. It seems to work pretty good in the 6 years I've been on this board, or 5 years, and watching village meetings for 50 years and appointments. I don't see the need to change it, other than tweeting some of these committees, which you've done a fine job with, and I agree 100%. I don't see the need to change the appointment process and how this gets done. I would like to have an opportunity in legal and ordinance to discuss it.
Okay, so any other discussion, trustee
I just
Straight?
want to provide a little historical perspective. I've heard things like, been doing this for 50 or 70 years, and actually, prior to Mayor Heilman being elected, the way the committees were selected was on I think it was the first meeting in May of every year. What we would do is, we would start with each committee, and each trustee would have an opportunity to volunteer for the committee. There was no, and it was simply done actually it was done on a seniority basis, so I served on a lot of committees back in those days, and I liked it quite a bit, but, it was the board definitely chose the committees for the years that Mayor Kolb served. And whatever the code said, I guess, probably, apparently was different than that, but it worked, it did work. I think it worked very well.
Okay. Yeah, and so this ordinance before us also says it should be in May with the chair chosen in June and all of these things. And I don't care what folks want to do about the how they're appointed, but I do care about the ex officios. But anyway, I'm going to call the vote now on Trustee Stalker's motion to refer this back to committee. Please call the vote.
Trustee Stalker.
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek.
No.
Trustee Desmond.
No.
Trustee Phelan.
No.
Trustee Vorder.
Yes.
Trustee Streit.
No.
So motion
Okay.
failed 4-2.
So we're back then to the original motion to approve, and I would request then that this be amended to remove the Cablevision reference.
And I'm happy, Mayor, if you want to add the ex officios back for.
I would love that, Trustee Phelan. That would make me, that would rock my world, sir.
Yeah, no, then to Terry and
Doesn't
Bud,
take much.
turn to them, yeah. This is a
Okay.
simplification,
So,
Madam.
just so I'm clear on that,
So
on that
we-
on that amendment, it's all the ex officios that we struck, put back in.
Well, no, not all, because some don't exist.
Well, I mean, on the.
So
on
with the exception of-
Public Works,
Treasurer.
and Finance, right? Those are-
On finance, there was a village administrator position that
keep
no
that,
longer
so-
exists, but the village manager and treasurer
Fine,
on the finance committee.
right.
Now, does that mean they're required to attend these?
No.
No. And then on the, I believe we changed it to the, Public Works Committee, then the,
Director of Public Works?
right. that
What
one will
about,
go back in.
what about Jack?
And village engineer.
Let's go.
May as well make them both.
Right, the
Okay,
village
I
engineer.
appreciate that very much, Trustee Phelan.
That'd be a new one, right? Because Jackie, you don't currently sit on that one, is Jack here? You don't sit on that one, do you? The Public Works Committee? All right, well, you want to make him an ex officio member? Fine,
Would it make you feel good, Jack?
let him back in.
Hey, Tom,
And was the manager?
Tom, the
on-
20th,
also?
the
No.
due date of the
the
20th for the quarterly report?
Okay, I think
Brian has
Okay.
a point.
Well, I just, can that be by the second meeting?
Yeah, whatever
So-
Brian thinks. I mean, we
Or can you and I work,
said monthly, Brian. I don't know if you knew that, so I wanted to get that. He's-
I just want to know what I have to get done.
Well, weigh in on what would be better, because we.
So, Brian Hannigan, if you could please tell us in the microphone what the problem is, what you'd like to
The
amend.
the quarterly report is what the board has been given, so that's fine. It's just when they get it, what I would ask is if we could have Tom knows, I've been a big supporter of having a separate finance committee, because it's been very difficult to get the entire body together. So a finance committee is a great idea, and I personally think the group that's on there is terrific. It's just, the timing would be if we could get that report to you, and then the finance committee meet in time for the second board meeting of the month. So if we could just change that to 20th business day, I guess, would be what I'm asking.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, so we have a few amendments. Could council review what we've amended?
Sure. Ex officio on the Finance and Technology Committee will be the village manager and the village treasurer will be ex officio members. On the Public Works Committee, the ex officio members will be the Director of Public Works and the village engineer.
Yes.
Yes, you're
They
just-
don't count towards the quorum.
Yeah.
And then I
Why
guess,
don't we add Tom Swat of the Finance and Technology?
okay, and then add,
Former military man.
Director to the, and so I just, one last question on that then, to the IT committee is, since we have delineated that the mayor is an ex officio member without powers to vote, these staff, do you want them to have it delineated that they don't have powers to vote, like the mayor?
Yes.
I'm good with that. As long as they can
They can have their
contribute.
input, but
Yeah,
only committee
and they have a
member.
right to
Trustees
have a
vote.
seat at the table, yeah.
But remember, what are we voting on? We're voting to tell the rest of the board something.
I know, Tom.
All right.
Right.
I know.
All right, and then the last one is that,
Yes, it is.
The finance director will have the report to the committee, or available to the committee for the 20th day of the month.
The 20th business day of the month, and because the board, the committee may want certain department heads, which is already in the document. So for example, if in a given quarter, there's a difficult storm, they may want to have Steve Barrett there, so it needs to be the 20th business.
They can call the staff there.
We just need time to organize, you know, to have the meeting with the committee in time to have the second meeting of the month.
Okay, very good. So we have the amendments as outlined by council. We're voting on the item as amended. So, and let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, we're on 23. No, we did 23. We're on 24. Appointments to trustee committees, AKA standing committees, and department liaisons. Do I need to do these individually, or can I do them collectively?
I guess since you've captured the title, I guess the way to put it out there is kind of what Bob suggested too, is everybody's okay with the way it's outlined, we'll just go ahead and approve them unless somebody has an objection, I guess.
What are we doing from where to where?
All of them,
Okay.
right?
24.
If anybody
So
has any.
24, I'll
Yeah,
just
I'm
read
sorry.
in bulk, and we'll vote as one.
Yeah, okay.
And I know trustee Desmond has a very tight time schedule, so I'm going to try to be quick. Public Works Committee, chaired by Alex Oliniechek, William Stalker, and Robert Straight. Legislative License and Ethics Committee, Chairman Tim Desmond, Alex Oliniechek, and Terry Vorder. Finance and Technology Committee, Chairman Tom Phelan, William Stalker, and Robert Straight. Safety Committee, Tim Desmond is the chair, Terry Vorder, and Tom Phelan. Department Liaisons, Police will be Terry Vorder, Fire, William Stalker, Special Events, Tim Desmond, Oaklawn Matters, Tom Phelan. Okay, I'd like a motion to approve this item, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Trustee Phelan made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Desmond is our second. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Thank you. 25 is ordinance 171559, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 6 surplus village vehicles that have reached a useful lifespan. May I have a motion on 25, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Stalker made that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Warder. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond? Ferris? Bueller?
Yes.
Yelled it. Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 26, Resolution 171555, resolution waiving the competitive bidding requirements and awarding WatchGuard Video a contract to provide police squad car cameras. May I have a motion on 26?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Vorder.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond? Go on, sorry. Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 27 is Resolution 171556, a resolution retroactively approving the authorization of an emergency contract with Aries Incorporated to immediately begin work on a sewer failure emergency. May I have a motion on 27?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Ward.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Stalker is our second. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. 28, Resolution 171557, a resolution approving the contract providing the sale of a 18,000 square feet owned by Norfolk Southern Railway Company and the purchase by the Village of Oak Lawn. May I have a motion on 28?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Vorder.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strike?
Yes.
Passes.
I just want to take a minute and congratulate Larry on how hard he worked on that railroad spur. The railroad is almost immovable, and thank you very much, Board, for your support on that.
Just a point of information, Mayor. We're buying the railroad spur, but we're selling it immediately. We are not buying more property. This is to make it so the Advocate Medical Group can use that property. We'll pay for it, and they'll pay us.
And it'll be mostly parking.
And
Yes.
just to comment on the work that Larry did, it took almost an act of Congress to get this done.
And
It was an act of Congress,
Lipinski.
Congressman Lipinski.
Congressman Lipinski.
Yeah. Yeah, Larry, you did not give up, and how many years has it been since you were talking to the railroad?
It was a steam engine when he started.
Pretty much, okay. So we're gonna move on, thank you, everyone. 29, Resolution 17-1558, a resolution approving a third amendment to the site lease agreement between the Village of Oak Lawn and AT&T, providing changes in accordance with the Prevailing Wage Act, updating the notice section, and repealing emergency service communications section for the telecommunications tower located at 9727 South Central Avenue, Oak Lawn, Illinois, 60453. May I have a motion on 29?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Stalker made that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Trustee Warder. Any discussion? Let's call the vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strike?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We are up to 30, Resolution 17-1519, a resolution approving the bid of FurPal Construction USA LLC pursuant to the 2017 potable water distribution mainlining project. May I have a motion on 30, please?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Trustee Oliniechek made that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Stalker. Any discussion?
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to thank the Chair of the Public Works Committee and the Public Works Committee. This is a new threshold in technology use by the village. It'll be the first time we've ever lined a water distribution pipe. We have lined sanitary sewer. We actually looked at this technology for the distribution system, the 60-inch pipe that you recently approved the contract with Reliable, Inc. It cannot be done. It does not exist in the United States, but the smaller pipe it does. Orland Park has used it. First time that it's been done, demonstration and discussion with the Public Works Committee. So I appreciate their support on venturing out on new technology.
Thank you. Any
Larry?
other? Yes,
Yeah,
Trustee
Larry,
Warder.
when this is completed, will it increase water pressure? I got 2 phone calls today on water pressure issues in the 4th District.
Well, water pressure, it will not.
No?
What it helps is what you have when you see water main breaks that do occur. It will hopefully allow us to mitigate against an open trench and disturbing a street by lining the water pipe, extending the life of the water, and mitigating against breaks.
Okay.
But it won't help pressure, so if you have a pressure issue, I'd like to know the specifics, and Steve
Called
Barrett.
the water department on them. They're gonna send somebody out today, but it has been a problem off and on, at least perceived to be a problem. I think a lot of it might be the individual home. Maybe their pipes are probably corroded, but
At our management meeting tomorrow, I will talk to Dave, because water pressure is one of the strengths of the system, with the exception of Tim Desmond's district. The new water distribution program strengthens the weaker pressures in the west part of the village.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call that vote, please. Item 30.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
yes.
Trustee Strike?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 31, a resolution 17-1560, a resolution approving the public right-of-way use agreement between the Village of Oak Lawn and Crown Castle NG Central LLC. May I have a motion on 31, please?
Motion to approve.
Trustee Stalker is our motion, seconded by Trustee Warder. Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Mayor, I know it's been a long meeting, but I feel obligated to talk about this item for you.
Briefly, please.
Okay, Crown Castle is a very sophisticated company out of Houston. They did not want to pay for use of the right-of-way. We resisted that. Excellent work on the part of council, Peterson, Johnson, Murray, and specifically Tom Condon. So this does not guarantee a new revenue stream. Crown Castle is entering in the field. We're going to see more and more efforts to put in new technology, smaller use of antennas and other systems to serve the rapid growth of handheld devices and transmission of data. I am concerned about this one. They did resist. Finally, they gave up. They'll have to pay the 5%. I just don't know what the revenue stream is, what their marketing plan is, whether they're going to compete directly with the ATTs in the world. So I just want to call that to your attention. I appreciate you approving this, but I think we're going to see more of this in the future. New companies, new ventures.
Larry, is the applicant in the room or the petitioner, any party? I see a person in the back. Is that? We're fine, I think. Yeah, thank you for being here all this time.
Sure, no problem. And I would like to clarify that we are happy to pay the percentage. I think there's just confusion when we first applied for permits.
Okay, so she has a presentation if we care to see it, but the consensus of the board looking at me with those eyes is no.
You could come to the
And-
Public Works Commission meeting.
And she said that there was not any
I assume.
hesitation to pay the percentage, but that there was initial confusion as to what was being requested. So let's call that vote on item 31, please. Thank you.
We already
Didn't
called the vote.
Oh, we did.
Didn't we call, yeah.
Yes, I'm
called that.
sorry.
was a comment.
Okay, yeah,
So
thank
now
you.
we're
I'm
on,
sorry.
32.
Thank you. Sorry, you guys, it's a long meeting. 32, Resolution 171561, a resolution to initiate disciplinary proceedings pursuant to Title III, Chapter 1, Section 6 of the Oaklawn Village Code, and to appoint K. Austin Zimmer of Delgado Law Group, LLC, as a hearing officer. May I have a motion on 32?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to postpone this. There have
Okay.
been some trustees that needed some more background information. I'll be getting that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to
Second.
postpone to the next meeting by trustee Oliniechek, seconded by trustee Vorder. Any discussion? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Thank you. 33 is a request for board approval and direction to the Board of Fire and Police Commission to promote one police lieutenant and one police sergeant from the current eligibility lists due to an impending retirement. May I have a motion, please, on 33?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee
Second.
Porter made that motion. Trustee Stalker is our second. Any discussion here? Let's take that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
Okay, 34 is a discussion of the village's adjudication program. Trustee Desmond had placed this on the agenda
Madam Mayor, I'd
with
like,
trustee Oliniechek, so.
yeah, I
yes.
would like to discuss this.
Sure.
Many residents, prior to us being aggressive with the property maintenance ordinance, the landlord-tenant ordinances, and many other good ordinances that we put in to help protect the residents of the village of Oak Lawn, were, not getting satisfactory results from issues that have happened in the neighborhood. So our adjudication, Brian, we went from what, once a month or an adjudication in frequency when they would have the hearings on that?
Used to be 2, now it's 4.
Yeah, I know, they went, but when I first started out, even in the 2 meetings, we went to 4 meetings, not because of we wanted extra meetings, it's because the amount of citations that have been issued for people who are not conforming within the village of Oak Lawn have increased significantly. And I don't know if a lot of that came from some of the ordinance change, like the property maintenance, where people are being held accountable for making sure that they maintain their homes within the minimal acceptable standards in the village, and also with the inspections for the various rental properties that we've increased. But there was an increase of work with that. And, I just look at the old contract for what our legal was basically for 2 meetings a month, and we switched it to 4 meetings a month. And I just thought it bore some discussion about, are we being fair to our vendor by doubling the amount of work on what they're doing without looking to compensate them fairly?
Okay, good question. I'd like to address some of your questions or comments. You're implying the work has doubled, and I'm trying to verify that. We know that the time slots have increased, but I'm going to go through kind of historically what the village has paid for adjudication. In 2004, our adjudicator was Mike Walsh. He earned $18,000 per year. It reduced then to in the 10,000 range from 2006, 12,000 in 2008, and it was 13,000 in 2012. These were all 2 meetings. In 2013, when the majority of this board, well, maybe not the majority, but we had 3 adjudicators at that time, Joe Pecco, Russ Miller, and Bert Odelson. At that time, we were paying 11.5. The combined revenue in 2013 hasn't changed much from the revenue generated in 2017 per our adopted budget. In fact, in 2016, it's about 20% less than what it was in 2013. So the amount of revenue collected isn't doubling or tripling or any of that, and we are seeing our current adjudicator billing out in the 30,000 range, 27,000 range, and the adjudicator has requested many times increase to $48,000 per year. So I thought, well, let's look at the data a little bit more. Unfortunately, Jeannie Galzin, who could give me the exact numbers of cases handled, I wanted to get the board a breakdown of how much per case our litigation was costing and look at it over time. I don't have that for you. So what I did do was take the revenue available to the village from adjudication, divide that by the legal costs, and at least it'll give you a frame of reference. So in 2011, when adjudication cost was in the 11,000 range, the revenue per dollar spent was $52.15. That jumped up in 2012 to $73.53, and to 2013, $101.48. Since the current adjudicator has been on, the numbers are in the $36, $39 range. What's being proposed by the adjudicator is what is a fair fee, would bring that into a $20.83 range. So without all the data, it's very hard to be fair. And my duty, I want to be fair to our vendors, but my duty is to the taxpayers. And without all the data, we just can't know. Now, in fairness to the adjudicator, he has been requesting very, very nicely, very cordially and professionally for consideration in this for some time, and I did not feel comfortable doing it before the election because I didn't want this to be made into a campaign issue, and I think most of the board would understand why. So we have a matter of do we want to, in the budget, increase that compensation? Again, we would be going from, in about 5 years, a 13.5 kind of amount to 48,000 for adjudication without a similar increase in revenue. So I just am not sure I'm comfortable making that recommendation to the board or that budget. We do have to sort it out before the budget. Any other comments on that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a
Yes.
couple.
Trustee Phelan.
The matter here, as I saw it, and I saw significant correspondence, there was a retainer offered when you guys retained Odelson, a fixed retainer based on the expectation of 2 meetings per month. I don't think that's in dispute. If it is, I don't know, but I'm just, what I'm reading and what Tim shared with me that he received from Bird, and Terry called me several weeks ago, similar concern. And the village increased the meetings from 2 to 3 to 4. Now, Jeannie, and I'm still confused as to, it's property maintenance, but Randy, it's also some police hearings, it's also some other things. I mean, it could be 6, 7 meetings, I don't know. But finally, and Jeannie was gracious enough, even though she was on vacation or away, I asked her, how much volume has changed, to your point? And she said, on property maintenance, they went from 30 to 70 and 90 on properties and 90 to 180 on citations. But the point is, on a fixed retainer, we don't do revenues per hour. When we change, as a material change to a retainer agreement, where they said we will propose X, and the village agrees, and then unilaterally said, no, now you have to come another time, and another time. You know, I was joking, saying, why don't we make them come 5 times a week? I mean, at some point, and I think we're past it, because A, the length of time they've been asking, and in your defense, Mayor, the first couple of times we talked about this, it wasn't made clear by them that it was because of meetings had increased. They were saying, we're working more, we're losing money, and like you, I said, well, you know, then maybe we find a different adjudicator. But then it finally was made clear that, no, wait a minute. You know, they came in with a fixed retainer expecting 2 meetings a month, and now it's 4. So I think we need to address this. Either we go back to 2 meetings, or we increase the retainer, because we can't sit here, and truthfully, it's not fair for us to say, well, wait a minute, our revenue per hour or per.
Right,
That's not
exactly.
what they're
There's-
about.
right.
Yes, they're about justice.
How often they have to, because at the end of the day, if they're here, they can't be somewhere else. They could be doing another hearing, but they're here. And Jeannie says it's an hour for this and an hour for that, so I think we really need to do something. You know, either, you know, I don't know if it's 4,000 a month, you know, commensurate with, you know, going back to Mike Walsh's days, and I thought it was more than that, Brian, but you might be right. But, you know, and that was when he was getting pension too. So, you know, this got changed correctly, and I know that Jeannie said between automation and all the good things like Alex said, the volume has increased. I would be surprised if those revenues weren't,
Right.
you know, higher in some other areas, Randy or you guys, police, because that's the other confusing thing. They also said that they're not charging for the police and fire commission meetings. They're billing for the work, and Brian, you think that may not be accurate. At the end of the day, there was a material change. 2 meetings to 4, and they weren't
Who
given any.
requested the meetings changed? I thought it was them.
The material change to Tom and Al's point, we went from 2 meetings to 4 meetings. Well, the primary reason was because the traffic flow outside the village went out through the front door. And so what was changed is on the first and third Thursday, we have, I guess I would refer to as the safe speed, which is the police meetings, and that those were held first. And then Jeannie's meetings, or I shouldn't call them Jeannie's meetings, the property maintenance and the rental ordinance meetings were held at 4 o'clock on the first and third Wednesday. So, no question about it, the workload in terms of number of meetings is increased by double.
And I want to really stress that no one is complaining about the quality of work. In fact, we hear compliments from people going before adjudication that they were treated fairly, professionally, and it was handled appropriately. So I guess, you know.
Madam Mayor, may I just add?
Yes.
So before, they weren't having to review, and that makes sense, the safe speed, if somebody wants to talk about their red light ticket, so that wouldn't even show up in any of the finances. So
Weren't they
you're
doing
not gonna.
the other company?
We've also increased, we've brought in some of the retail theft violations into that court as well for the county.
So I don't know if you're matching apples to apples, but the fact is, how many hours are the hearings? How many hours do the hearings go for?
They're usually 2 hours.
So let's call it 2 hours for the property maintenance twice a month, so that's 4 hours, and then you increased 2 hours for the police. So, I mean, you're talking 4 hours more on that, so the quantity of the scope of work went.
Well, when a vendor is asking for just about 4, almost 5 times, you know, well, 4 times what was being paid historically.
I'm not talking about what.
I just want
Discussion on
to.
that.
We
I
gotta
just
look at
want
what they
to-
were agreed to.
I know, that's the
10
missing
years-
thing I don't have, so I'm not comfortable
Not
making.
5 times, it's whatever you guys agreed to the 2,500, 2,200.
So I'm not comfortable, without knowing the missing numbers, saying, is this good for the taxpayers? Is this the way we want to go? And making a recommendation to the board. Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm all for paying somebody their due salary. That's what we all go to work for. I would like to make a suggestion that the village manager and yourself come back to this board, okay, with these detail on how many hours go in. I don't care about the revenues they generate. That's not what they're here for. They're here to do justice to the
It's just the
people.
only data point I have to.
Yeah, right. But I'd like to know how many hours they're putting in, how many days a week, and I want to pay them fair compensation.
Point of order, this is the trustees. The adjudicator is not the mayor or the manager. This is one of those ones that fall on the trustees. And that's another thing that
Is
gets
it, Paul? I thought the adjudicator
I just
was
asked
the
for
mayor.
information.
No, I'm just.
Cast my vote.
Mayor, we have,
Prosecutor.
No, wait, we have a, no, I think
I
the
don't have the code in
prosecutor
front
is
of me.
Larry, I think adjudicator's me.
regardless, we have a committee now to review these things, and they should be sent to legislative, whatever, licensing and ethics.
Not here.
We have a committee structure.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on the agenda. Does anyone have additional comments on that item?
Mayor, I do.
Yes.
As long as the issue of revenue was raised, I understand that many of the fines that are imposed are uncollectible. And just for my own benefit, and probably for the benefit of the board, could we get the information as to how much, in the numbers that you provided, are you including the uncollectibles? And are we actually, what efforts are made to recover those fines that aren't paid?
It does. We send all of our uncollectible items to a collection agency, so by the name of ICS. So we meet quarterly on not just the police uncollectibles, but also, as you can imagine, we have damage to village property. Someone will hit a street light, someone will hit we had an incident where they hit the monument sign coming down off the hill from Chicago Ridge. So we approached, I had a number of meetings with State Farm to get that money. We do what we can, but that money is actually in a separate account because it takes so much longer to get it. So that, to Tom's point about the revenue, I tried to show apples to apples. So when I sit down with Sandy and with Larry, I'll just make sure that it's all adjudication so that the board is seeing apples to apples. As you know, Odelson's firm also does a fair amount of work on the Police and Fire Commission. But to answer your question, Bob, that money is put in the village general fund, but it does go through a separate account just because of the time it takes to get that money.
But the uncollectibles were.
The uncollectibles.
The uncollectibles were included in the figure?
No, these numbers do not include uncollectible amounts.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
What do we vote?
We don't
Yeah,
have
I'm
a-
sorry. I'm just switching screens. I'm on autopilot. We're on a discussion. Thank you, Paul. Okay, 35.
Doing my
Consideration by the Board of Trustees of a motion to accept a federal SAFER grant award totaling
We
$1,347.
didn't do the police promotion, did we?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Okay, fine. I'm sorry. Okay.
yes. I'm
Maybe
glad-
you should take that to legal and ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, consideration by the Board of Trustees of a motion to accept a federal SAFER grant award
Motion to approve.
$1,347,952. This is a 3-year grant period for hiring 7 SAFER firefighter paramedics for the sole business purpose of mitigating against the risks, against rising Oak Lawn Fire Rescue Department overtime exceeding village appropriations. May I have a motion on 35?
Motion to approve.
Trustee Stalker made that motion. Trustee Oliniechek is our second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
We've been fortunate enough to have been offered the SAFER grant. The SAFER grant stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. If we accept the grant, and that's what we're voting on tonight, we'll receive $1,347,952 to hire 7 firefighter paramedics for 3 years. These new additional firefighter paramedics are not replacements for existing positions that are budgeted. Based on the term of the grant, they must be involved in it 50% or 50% or more firefighting. There are costs to the village with this grant. The total cost of the village over the three-year period will be in excess of $933,000. The reason for that is the SAFER grant only pays 75% of the cost of the employment in the first year, 75 in the second, and 35 in the third. We hope to recoup a lot of that money by reducing the fire department overtime costs, which were $2.5 million in 2015. We'll do this by using these additional employees to fill shifts previously filled with overtime. With that said, there's no guarantee. We need the continued support of the Firefighter Paramedics Union to assure compliance with the terms of this agreement and the village's attempts to continue to control costs. Toward that end, I'd like to read you a letter received today from Vic Griffin, the president of the Oak Lawn Professional Firefighters Union, Local 3405. This is a letter written to Chief Sheets. Please let this email stand as confirmation that the Oak Lawn Professional Firefighters Association, Local Union 3405, International Association of Firefighters, endorses the Village of Oak Lawn's acceptance of the SAFER grant, which will add 7 new firefighters to the ranks of the Oak Lawn Fire Department. This endorsement is based on multiple informational meetings that have taken place between the union, yourself, and with multiple members of the village administration staff, including Mayor Burry. I believe the positive exchange between the management and labor will brighten all future interactions. The union fully intends to fulfill its obligations to bargain in good faith in the upcoming successor collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Signed, respectfully submitted, Vince Griffin, President of the local union. I strongly endorse the acceptance of this grant, although I do openly admit that there's a risk. I think we can mitigate the risk, and just the fact that the fire department has offered their support and has written an endorsement of the grant shows a change in the way the union and the village could deal with each other in future negotiations. There's been a lot of animosity in the past. We're hoping to turn that page, and therefore I strongly recommend that we accept this grant. With the provisions that we can do things in the future, if there are problems, we can mitigate the loss and not have to worry about an excessive cost. We do have an ability to get out of it later, but we want to start this process by acceptance of the grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Phelan.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate Trustee Stalker on a job well done. As we've said, it's oftentimes, you know, the next time we hope is going to be the best time, and things are going to change, and they haven't for a long time. But you obviously have done a lot of good work here. The letter does read positively, but Larry, you sent us an email kind of summarizing your perspective. And again, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. You know, yes, we're accepting the grant, but if we find we're back into the same rat holes of word games and the chief being, you know, handcuffed with different, you know, can't do this because there's fire suppression, we're not committed at that point. We're going to see hopefully some, as Trustee Stalker said, some evidence from their side saying we are going to work together, because of course they're going to support it. There's more money for us to use on the department, and we do want that. But at the end of the day, if it's going to be all this nonsense and semantical arguments and, you know, fire suppression is not ambulance and all these things, at the end of the day, 90% of the work they do is emergency response, ambulance calls. So if we're hiring 7 firefighters and all of a sudden they're called fire suppressors only or something like that, Larry, you brought up a good point, 3 or 4 points actually saying, you know, trust but verify, for lack of a better term. Is that a fair statement?
Thank you, trustees and mayor. I do applaud what has transpired in these 2 meetings, but I have serious disappointment and concerns, and I express that to you. We have asked as early as April of 2017 to commence negotiations on a contract that expires this December. We're almost in October. And we all know these collective bargaining agreements are extensive. And now we're about to incur another liability on the village because it's a 25% match. We have no guarantee that that expenditure of additional village money will result in a reduction in unnecessary, let me repeat, unnecessary overtime. This is a business decision. The union agrees in our meetings. This is about business, not public safety. There's no public safety be enhanced by accepting this grant. It's to reduce overtime, stop hemorrhaging of a budget, and we need their cooperation to sit down and bargain in good faith, which their president has said in writing today, which I'm very thankful for. But the clock is ticking, and those 7 individuals cannot, in my opinion, that's your decision, but I will not recommend to you their appointment as employees on our payroll until we have key issues addressed, which Trustee Stalker has brought to their attention respectfully. They understand them. They have to be addressed. I think the phrase was called tentative agreement, TA. They understand what that term means. They acknowledged it. It was defined and explained to Trustee Stalker by those in attendance from the union. If we met today and we would agree or spend several meetings agreeing on the TAs, then we can continue bargaining on the rest of the contract, or we can agree to all terms of the, but it takes time. We're not meeting till November 30th, and we asked to move up those meetings earlier, and their council refused to do so on their behalf. So I'm pleased that we're talking, but I am concerned, and I'll just express that to you. I do not believe you can afford to sign and appoint and accrue this liability without having critical issues addressed. I think the leadership of Chief Sheets has been outstanding. He continues to meet with the men and women of Local 3405, and I hope he continues that. But we need to have compromise.
So Larry, if we vote to accept this grant and this compromise doesn't occur, what is the drop dead date to back out of this?
We accept this, you accept the award of $1,347,000 over a 3-year period, incur a village liability of potentially over $900,000 in additional costs.
With the vote
The
tonight?
second decision point.
Wait.
Appointment, and we have to make a decision by January of 2018. If you decide at that point that there's been no progress as identified by Trustee Phelan, then you can vote to say, we made an effort, we did not have support, we can't reach agreement. You abort the grant, and you do not incur
Good.
that $900,000 liability.
That's what I'm asking.
You still are in control, and I have no problem saying this publicly. I think taxpayers need to know this. It's not a public safety issue, it's a business decision, and you still have the ability to abort this grant if you do not have compromise and cooperation on the part of Local 3405. And I pray that they do provide that.
Thank you.
So, the answer to that question is, the deadline to accept the grant is this Friday?
Correct.
So we are voting tonight. I'm asking you to vote to accept this grant. The deadline for incurring liability is sometime January or February of next year. If we don't incur the liability by hiring these firefighters, because we have not been successful in negotiation and winning the points that are necessary to reduce our costs, we can avoid liability and not accept the payments.
Okay.
Call the
And
vote.
Sir.
I'm going to call the vote, but first I want to thank Chief Sheets for your leadership on this. It's potentially very big for us, and I really want to reiterate, I hope our partners in safety in the union help us with this, make it just transformative for the department. I think it will be. Let's call the vote,
Yeah,
please.
well, Mayor, we should probably thank Congressman Kapinski, too,
Yes, how
because
could
he
I
brought
forget?
He brought this money to our attention.
He again was our champion in this effort,
Yeah.
along with Chief Sheets.
And what a steady support of our first responders all the time. So, okay.
Trustee Stalker.
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek.
Yes.
Trustee Phelan.
Yes.
Trustee Vorder.
Yes.
Trustee Straight.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Chief.
Good.
Thank you. Okay. Village Clerk's report.
Okay. Approval of semi-monthly disbursements, number 2017-16D, dated August 22nd, 2017, in the amount of $1,183,147.23.
May I have a motion on 36A? Trustee Oliniechek made that motion. Do I have a second?
Terry.
Second.
Trustee Warder is our second. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
Yes.
And B,
Okay. B?
approval of semi-monthly disbursements, number 2017-17D, dated September 12th, 2017, the amount of $9,183,648.16.
Motion approved.
Trustee Oliniechek made that motion on item B, second by
B.
Trustee Warder. Any discussion? Let's call that vote.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight? That's it.
Okay, general village matters?
No.
Okay. Village President's report, I'm going to keep it very brief. I just want to say the new version of Oak Lawn Matters hit the streets, and I think everyone agrees it was pretty wonderful. It's not every month, but I think it's the news we can afford, and Trustee Phelan, thank you for that. You worked really hard on that, and I'm going to ask that you guys kind of lock down a budget for that for next year, moving forward. And we need to come up with the interval. Fall on the Green, I can't thank staff enough. I can't thank the people of Oak Lawn enough, and I can't thank our sponsors enough. I couldn't imagine a more perfect weekend. Good time had by all. Everyone behaved well. And last comment, our Arts Commission had their first ever Battle of the Bands on Friday night, and what a wonderful event. The tent there was filled with a bunch of teenagers, and they were competing viciously for the honor of playing on the main stage on Sunday morning, but they were all supportive of each other, and it was a beautiful thing. I hope we can continue that. I want to thank them for their leadership. Item 38 is next, but I'm going to ask the board for a little consideration. I see people who have been here since the start of the meeting. I don't know, we had a technical glitch at the start of the meeting. I don't know if anyone had, was waiting to repeat their comments, but I'd like the board's indulgence before we go into executive session to allow them to repeat their comments for the camera if you want. And
I don't think we need, Larry, confirm whether we need executive session? We do
No,
not.
we don't need executive.
council has said we were doing it.
I thought, if Jane's okay, we can approve the minutes in the next one. I don't think.
I'm fine.
Motion postponed until next meeting.
Okay, so let's just, again, I want to verify no one wants public comments on the camera. Okay, hearing none. Okay, I just see you guys here, and I don't know if you're waiting for that or just enjoying the meeting. So we're on item 38. I'd like a motion to postpone till the next meeting.
So moved.
Trustee Oliniechek made that motion. Trustee Vorder is our second. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Straight? Motion passes.
39, Resolution 1562, a resolution approving a release and settlement agreement in Christine O'Neill versus Village of Oak Lawn, case number 2015 L13156. May I have a motion on 39?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Trustee Warder made that motion.
Second.
Second by trustee Oliniechek. Any discussion? Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Lanechek?
Yes.
Trustee Phelan?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Trustee Strand?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I think this is the first item 40 on the agenda since I've been mayor.
Super Bowl 40, Airman.
I think it's the first I ever saw.
So moved.
So item
So
4,
moved.
motion to adjourn. Trustee Oliniechek made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Warder. Is there a second? Let's call that vote, please.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much, everyone. Great meeting.